State your name.
Gary Jefferson.
All right, you're a terrible liar, by the way. You have such a big tell when you shot your eyes over to the other side of the room and then you came back. You've been out of comedy a little too long. You gotta get your chops back, buddy.
Yeah, I guess so. Why you dressed so fancy? You look like you're about to talk about a new Apple product.
Well, you know what? I just kind of like the simplicity of it. So check it. The red curtain. I got this chair. It's new for $10. Actually, it's not new, but new to me. Anyways, I got this chair, and then I thought, I don't know. I just kind of like the black, and then every time some different colored tie, and just keeping it simple because whatever that's going to be me.
All right.
And yeah, that's about it. I just wanted to keep it simple because we got ADD, right? Me and you, and
Yeah.
too many things. So there's like a million ideas. Like I'm just gonna put a cityscape behind me. I'm gonna put a green screen behind me. I'm gonna put me like in outer space. I'm thinking of all these things, and I was like, stop it. Just keep it fucking simple.
I mean, you can just use a green screen and then just change up the background every time.
Green screen just looks too fake. So I just want to keep it simple. So this is this show, and what's interesting, I just want is to be what we're talking about.
I think what you should do is do a Star Wars background since you look like Princess Leia with the headphones on.
Sure, I could use that. I could do that as a promo pic.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it as Princess Leia in honor of her birthday. Something like that. So anyways, since now we're connected really good. Now, can you turn your phone sideways? Is that your phone or
Yeah, it's my phone.
turn it sideways and is that any different for me?
What do you want me to do here?
You know how you turn it is it up and down filming?
Oh,
There. All right,
does that
now
work?
center that. Yeah. That's better. Center it. Oh yeah, that's good. No, that's nice. A little bit higher. I want to get your whole head in there. All your head up, up, up. Just a little bit more.
You want to see my bald head?
No, I just want to see. I want to get the full effect. I want to laser focus in on you as a human being. So yes, I do need your hair. There, perfect.
I'm like so used to like taking pictures and videos like this, just so this isn't.
This is
I mean, you've been a bald guy for like 25 years, so it doesn't bother you anymore.
Since May of 2000.
All right.
Right? I remember the day I did it, man. I was scared shitless. I thought people were gonna point at me and laugh and ridicule
No,
me, and
but you're like one of those people that looks like you look all right as a bald guy. Like it fits with your character, and you're tall.
yeah.
You're a tall guy,
Mm-hmm.
and you're kind of like lanky and stuff. So like the bald works for you.
Yeah, you are right. Well, I've been doing it. Yeah. Luckily, when I shaved my head, it wasn't weird shaped. That would be like, oh man, there's a huge like divot or some kind of oddly, shaped part of it. And if that was the case, then I guess I would have to be wearing wigs or whatever.
Yeah, you remember when you had hair and like you'd get like a scab on your head and you just keep picking at it for like weeks on end? Like I always assumed that if I ever did shave my head, I'd just be like all pockmarked up with crazy scars and stuff from like constantly picking at things in my head.
Do you know, since you bring that up, you remember Steve O'Harvey, of course.
Yeah,
Did you like Steve O'Harvey?
I liked Steve. He was such a sweet guy. Sad that he passed the way
It's
he
sad
did.
the way he passed, but cutting that out, awesome. The dude was like a ray of sunshine anywhere he went, right?
Yeah.
He was just like, it didn't matter who you were or what, he would throw in some quick lines, and if you knew Steve, you're laughing.
I remember, I was never really close with Steve, but when I first got back into stand up in 2001,
Mm-hmm.
he was one of the first people I kind of connected with, and I had his phone number. And I remember my sister had like some kind of breakdown in the city, like she got a flat tire or something like that. And Steve was like one of the few people I knew in the city at the time. So I gave him a call and I'm like, hey, my sister's broken down over here. Could you go help her out? And he did. He went and helped her out and got her out of harm's way and stuff. And he didn't even know me, you know? It was awesome.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great story, man.
Yeah.
Steve to me was like, he was like my best friend, like my best friend I've ever had for like a couple of years. Like my best friend.
Yeah.
And after he passed, as I talked to more and more people about Steve, I come to realize I think he's one of those special people that everybody he met and he cared to, he made them. He was able to make everybody his best friend.
Yeah. And, you know, in comedy, there's like people, there's so many feuds and drama, and
Mm-hmm.
there's people that hate other people or hold grudges against people.
Yep, you're a
And
firebomb
I don't
thrower
think
yourself.
you and I think Steve and maybe guys like Pete Holmes and a few others are people that nobody's ever said like I fucking hate that guy
Mm.
about you, about Steve. You know, like there's just some people that it's just like they ooze such this positive energy and they're never an asshole to anyone that there could be nobody that has a problem with them. I mean, I could see maybe somebody having a problem you know, oh, I don't really like his comedy or I don't get his jokes or whatever. But I couldn't possibly see anyone ever saying anything overtly negative about Steve. I never heard anyone say anything bad about him, you know.
Right.
And in comedy, you're always like you'll always run into people that are just like, I don't fucking like that guy. And you know, there's never any good reason for it. And it's
Hmm.
usually because it's like, oh, you know, 10 years ago I wanted to be on a show that they were running and they didn't let me go on the show or
Wow.
whatever. You know.
You know, I didn't consciously think of getting to my narcissism. I didn't constantly. I didn't back then, especially. I didn't consciously think. Um, I don't. I just. I think here. Just going back when I was bullied like all the time, like first, second, kindergarten, just everywhere.
Me
And
too.
of course, now that I know since 50 that I've had ADHD, I can look back and like, oh yeah, I would fuck up shit. Like they'd be trying to play a game like Monopoly, and then I say, well, what if we everybody gets the pot if they jump on Boardwalk, and then if you get Boardwalk, what if we put some, you know, if you have a dragon here and it eats you instead of you getting property, you know what I mean? I would change all the games, and everybody like, I don't want to play anymore. What are you doing, Darren? Or we'd be playing kick the can, and then somehow we'd end up being playing softball. And I would be orchestrating all the rules. Come on, somebody get a bat instead of the can. Let's make it a base. Let's put cans around the field, and you go run to each can, and you hit a ball. Let's go. Like I'm inventing shit. Um, but what happened was I used humor to get out of being bullied. So then by the fifth, sixth, and seventh grade, just my natural quirkiness, I used my ADHD quirkiness, quick mind, or whatever, to get to people to laugh. Like, especially the MO
Same.
was I would move to a place, you know, every like year and a half, my dad would move and we'd be in a new school, and
Well, because your dad was a serial killer, right?
no, just a salesman. Yeah. Serial killer would be the more, I guess, romantic, you know, get more popular. Hey, let's talk about my dad, the serial killer. But no, just a businessman who was trying to take care of his family. One income went to sales and then wherever it took him. He was working for the military when I lived in Spain. Anyways, getting off track. So we'd move a bunch, and the MO was like I get in a new place, I'd be all shy, back corner. Then all of a sudden, the bully would try and befriend me, and then within a couple of days, it would like he would turn on me, and next thing you know, I'd be fighting them at the end of the week, or in 2 weeks, or 3 weeks, and then all the sub bullies would bully me on the playground, and then all the people who wanted to be bullies of sub bullies would bully me till about 4 or 5 months. I would be playing by myself somewhere, and just like whatever. But By the time I was in seventh grade, I started studying the bullies, like right out on day one, and I would see what made them laugh, like what kind of thing. So I would always, on the first days I'd be there, I would try to make people laugh at something I did, but be really stealth and quick about it. So I wasn't really like drawing attention. I wasn't pulling my wiener out and go, yay. And I wasn't doing anything. It was something clever, fast, but funny and weird. And like, did he just do that? And awesome. So I would get this reputation as like, yeah, he's kind of funny.
I
And
had a strategy whenever I saw like the jockey bully types coming towards me.
mhm.
I would stare them down, and I would make like I'd take a 90-degree turn and run full speed with my head directly into a locker. Because if you hit the
Ooh.
locker like right in the middle, there's like nothing reinforcing it, so it makes a loud sound, but it doesn't really hurt you. But they'd just be like, "This guy is beating the shit out of himself. Like, I'm not gonna do anything."
Right, and they're also thinking if you're willing to do that to with a locker, what are they? What are you going to do to them when you slam your head into their stomach? You know, knock
You're
the
like,
air
"This
out of
guy's
them.
crazy." All
Yeah,
right, well, we'll just let him do his thing.
really, that's what
And
you did?
I still had bullies, but I feel like almost everybody that has ever been a stand-up comedian or a comedian of any kind was bullied growing up. I mean, most kids were
Sure,
bullied at some point
sure.
growing up. But I feel like the reason that the comedy scene is so full of drama is because you have basically this collection of nerds that have created their own little clique, their own little social hierarchy structure.
Yes,
And once one of those nerds becomes the top of the heap because they're running a hot show or whatever,
sure.
then instead of saying, I want to treat everyone else nicely because I know what it's like to be bullied, they instead say, now it's my turn to be the bully. And then they get to be the asshole.
Oh, yucky. So they're like grown-up bullies.
Yeah, and that's what I noticed a lot with a lot of the guys that ran shows and stuff. They just seem to like to have that power over people
Mm-hmm.
and give people shit for no good reason, really.
What's the last adult bully you've ever ran into and had any conflict with?
Hmm.
Do you remember?
I guess in comedy, certainly I had adversaries, but I think the worst of them that I ever dealt with was Drew Michael.
I don't know him.
Oh,
Or at
that's a
least
good
I
guy.
don't remember him by name. I've probably seen him, I'm
But
sure.
he went on to do other things and stuff. But he was one of the big factors in me like just stepping away from comedy
Really?
because he was like that physical embodiment of everything shitty about comedy. Like he was just one of those people that was just like constantly negative and always starting shit and always starting drama, and it was just like I was like, why deal with this?
So he was pointing at you, though, specifically, starting drama
I
with
mean, he was.
you,
I mean, he was kind of a jerk to everybody
right?
for the most part, but he was like 22 or so when he first started
Right.
doing stand, and I put him in one of my new talent nights and like
Yeah.
kind of cultured him, and like there was a little bit of a rift between us at the beginning, and I'd kind of pull him aside and be like, hey buddy, this is what you got to do, and like I tried to help him, and even after he was a dick to me, I got him like I had
How
him come out to Jukebox Comedy Club
how was he a
and do
dick?
like
How
a
was the first?
guest
Do you
set.
remember how he was a dick to you? Like what was that flavor? You what would you
Just
do? He would get off stage. You go, "Hey, nice job, buddy," and you go, "Yeah, you wish, pal." Would you do some shit
no,
like
it was
that?
just like
I don't care
so.
about you.
The best example I can give is we had a show at my comedy club called the Ha Ha Hanukkah show,
Ho ho
and
ho.
it was a show I did every year, and it was all Jewish comedians doing a
Nice.
Hanukkah show.
Okay.
So that wasn't what it was advertised as. And that particular night, I want to say this was maybe 2009 or 2010. Um, and that particular night, we had a crowd. We had a crowd of about 23 or 25 people in that basement theater at the Chicago Center for the Performing Arts. And Drew was on the show. And a lot of what was there as an audience was parents with their college stage kids. You
Oh
know, they're in
boy.
from they're in from school, and
Sure.
hey, let's all go out and do something as a family. So there was about 2 or 3 groups in the crowd of like, teenage girls or boys
Yeah.
with their parents.
Oh boy.
So before the show started, I kind
Oh
of pull
boy.
everyone to the side
Yeah, you
and I
did.
tell Drew, I'm like, hey, I know you got a lot of like off-color humor, which I'm usually fine with. Like, I don't
Right.
care what you do, but I'm
Yes.
like, you got a lot of really funny stuff about Jewish holidays,
Oh man.
and so do that stuff. Like just try to like keep it PG-13 tonight because there's people here with their families and stuff.
So you're
So
telling the whole group that, or just him?
I mean, I kind of told everyone that. Like, I kind of told everyone,
One
like,
by
hey, kind
one,
of
or
keep
you
it.
gather them all around? Hey, everybody, huddle.
I can't even remember, but I think it was like, we kind of had a little powwow before the show,
All
and it
right.
was like, all right, everyone, like, we got a lot of families here tonight, so keep it PG-13. Try not to swear a lot
So
and be
was
gross.
Drew in the lineup? Was he the one that had the most hardcore? Was he the most hardcore of all those comics?
Yeah, and I think at a certain point, I kind of pulled him aside, and I'm like, hey, man, you know, just keep it
Right.
clean.
So he
Try to
has a
keep it
he
light
has the
tonight.
amazing ability to super cringe a room.
Right. And so I remember Prescott Tolk was on the show as well.
Okay.
Um,
Here you
Prescott
go.
Tolk was on the show as well. And this is the thing is I thought Drew was really funny, and that's why I was giving him so many shots,
Right on.
even though I didn't think he was a good person. That he was, kind of an asshole to me personally and to other people. But I tried to never let my personal feelings about people get in the way of booking a show because that was one of the things. The way I ran shows was basically the complete opposite of what I thought other people ran shows as. Of like, I tried to keep away from favoritism. I tried to keep away from only booking my friends, and I booked people that I didn't like on a personal level as long as they were funny.
You
But
know,
I
I
kind of
just want to
pulled,
say this right here for you.
yeah,
That's a very good person thing to do. I'm just telling you, good person. You should have a medal, good person award in comedy.
thank
You.
you. But I kind of pulled Drew aside and just kind of reiterated to him like, hey man, seriously, like, try to keep it light tonight. So instead of
Yeah.
sticking to his really funny
What number does he
Jewish,
go up?
he just went up on stage and
What
did
number was
all.
he on the list?
I
On
think
the
he was like probably 3 or 4,
three
maybe,
or four out of how many?
maybe
And
6,
how much time do each have?
about 10 or
So
15,
10 or
depending.
15 minutes. He's going. Let's say he's just going on fourth. All right. So everybody's been clean, and joyful, and then
And then
he
he
comes
just
on.
goes up and just straight up all jerk off material, all masturbation and porn material. Like he went out of his way to do the exact opposite of what I asked.
Do you remember his
And
opening joke? Did he do it?
no,
Thing
I
where
don't
he
remember. I just
jizzes in
know
the front row?
he had like a huge chunk of material about like
Pretends to
porn and
jizz.
masturbation, which was funny, but it just wasn't appropriate for that crowd.
Right. Did he
And
ever
he
use
actually
the stool as to hump it at all
no,
during
he
his
didn't.
set? Because that is
I'm not
classic.
saying it was bad material. I'm not saying it was hacky.
It was
I'm just
funny,
saying
but it
that
was cringe.
it was the wrong crowd for it. And
Cringe city.
he actually
Oh,
did
boy.
walk a group. He walked, I think, a mother, father, sister, brother, or maybe it was a sister, like maybe a daughter, boyfriend situation.
Okay.
They got up and left, and
Right.
so right after his set, I pull him aside. I'm like, dude, what the fuck was that?
Uh-huh.
And he was like, you can't tell me what to do. Like it was like this
Yeah.
dealing with like a 12-year-old of like, you don't tell me what to do. I'm going to
Right.
do whatever I want. And
Right.
it's like he specifically did that just to be an asshole to me
Right.
because I said not
You know
to
that
do it.
shit's classic,
even
dude.
even Prescott Tolk, who was on the show, was like, dude, what the fuck? Why are you
Mhm.
doing that?
Right.
And it was
But
that like, and that's just one example of the type of person he
so he was a
to me.
contrarian, and he saw you as some kind of a boss / father figure or whatever. He's like,
Yeah,
"Fuck you telling me what to do. I'm my own man. I'm living life, dude. I'm
and
a
for me, it's
comedian."
like when somebody is intentionally being an asshole to me
Right.
or like butting heads with me, I try to go out of my way to like appease them and
Yeah.
like be like, why doesn't this person like me? I want them to like me. So I'd go out of my way to try to like help him out and give him spots. And I even got him like a guest set at the Jukebox Comedy Club when I was performing out there, and it was just always stuff like that from him. And then he started running Comedians You Should Know with the other guys, and he used everyone had like the veto power to like ban one person from the show that would never be able to go up at the show.
Mm-hmm.
And Drew used that his veto power to keep me off of that show, even though every single guy that started that show started at my rooms, including him.
Right.
So that was the kind of thing, and I'm not trying to like pile all of that on Drew, but Drew was the physical embodiment of everything I hated about comedy, and that was kind of the one of the many straws that broke the camel's back.
So can you list the
dealing
things?
with him and people like
List me the things you hate about comedy. As a guy who's seen a lot of it, give me your top 5.
I'm not even talking about comedy as the performance art itself, because there's a lot of types of comedy I don't like.
I understand.
I don't like the happy club comedy and stuff. But
we're just talking lines crossed that you're not really digging.
I did not like the favoritism. I did not like the fact.
Right.
I didn't like the fact that so many rooms were based on putting up people who run other rooms. It was like this whole clique. It's like you could look at the lineups on all these hot shows every week, and it's the same fucking 7 guys at every show doing the same 10 minutes of material. And that's why at my comedy club, I always tried to do themed shows.
Okay.
Like this show is going to be a show about work stuff, so write a bunch of work material. This show is going to be about current events, so do a bunch of current event material. I was always trying to challenge the comedians to have to come up with new material, so if people come back to the club to see a show the next week or a couple weeks later and they see the same guy, it's not the same fucking 10 minutes again.
Right.
There's comedians that, if you perform at Zany's, there's comedians you performed with a decade ago that are doing the same fucking
right. No,
15 minutes
dude,
chunks in their act for that long.
It's scary because they're scared to write new stuff.
Yeah, and one of the things is a lot of comedians gave me shit for having all these themed shows, but at the same time, I'd rather have a different show every time that wasn't as funny than a show that's perfectly everyone's best material every single time, and it's the same shit every time.
Do you remember the riff? It was me and Ectomorph. It was all 3 of us, and it was Mike Lucas, and it was Kevin Rogers. Do you remember?
I think I wasn't around for that because I came into comedy at right around 98 or so.
Okay.
But I wanted to go get this.
Oh.
The Chicago Comedy Festival program I found from 98.
Nice, buddy. Can I go back just real quick before I forget about it?
Yeah.
The moment that he's going on 4th, and now he's doing jerk-off jokes, a whole sex, penis, vagina monologue for about 10 to 15 minutes now with these 5 groups. Now, did you get the sense that the audience was cringing? Did they laugh? How was their reaction?
I mean, you could tell, like, there was definitely not laughter. He had a way.
There was not laughter. That is a big tell.
He had a way about him of, like, nuking a room if, like, he didn't if he didn't like the way something was going or whatever, like
sabotage.
It was essentially like a toddler throwing a tantrum and trying to ruin it for everyone,
Right. He was specifically he was throwing his sabot in the machine. It was sabotage. You had you just threw a grenade into your lineup. Like, hey, Drew, so I'm going to pull the pin now, and you count to 3, and then just start doing dick jokes for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
The most uncomfortable cock. Oh, my God, dude.
and that's the thing is, like,
he must have really hated you.
I don't know what his deal was.
He just hates you, man. Oh,
I never did anything to the guy. I never did anything to him.
Do you think it could be anti-Semitism, dude?
He's Jewish too, so
God dang! Isn't that the worst kind?
I'm trying to find your picture, and there's Mike Lucas. I found Mike Lucas.
Yeah, Mike Lucas. He's the reason I shaved my head. He gave me the confidence to shave my head. He did it before me, and then a month later, I did it.
I remember when I was a kid going to 17, 18 years old, and Len Ostrovich was giving out all those free tickets for all the comedy
Oh,
clubs,
that's
Fallout
what
and stuff.
fucking killed it.
And
Killed
I
the
would go to
scene.
the Fallout like every other weekend, and Mike Lucas was always there.
Yep.
I remember I bought a T-shirt from him. But look what I found. Where's my camera at? There you are.
Yeah. Oh, the Jackyard Puppets. That's when Jim left us, and we had to branch out on our own.
Who is that other guy?
That's Bart. Me and
Where's he
Bart.
at?
Bart lives on the East Coast, and he's working in computer graphics stuff.
Oh, all right.
So he's living on the other side of the United States from here.
Yeah, there's a lot of remember John Novotny? You remember that guy?
Yes, I do. We had me and him had beef over the same girl.
Ah,
Yeah, I had beef with him. He
that'll
was
do
one
it.
of the
I had,
first guys I met when I actually came to town. Was Novotny? Well, the first guy back in '92. He's one of the first guys I ever saw.
check that out, Louis C.K. with hair.
Oh yeah. Louis C.K.'s material wasn't that great back then.
Yeah, because he was doing kind of like weird non sequitur stuff, right?
He was, and I was like, well, this is, he's funny, but he was
Hedberg there,
stiff.
too. We got Hedberg. We got Tim Walco
Hedberg.
there, who I think he's using the same headshot.
So I was at a place called the Apollo on one of those on a subsequent comedy fest with all of Ectomorph, and Hedberg was on the show. He opened for us, and then Ectomorph went on, and then it was Lewis Black after us. So that was the lineup.
Lewis Black is one of those guys that it's like I appreciate what he's saying, but I've never really, it's not jokes. It's just like,
Right.
you know what I
It
mean?
is kind
And
of a
it's not-
rant in a
I actually
funny
went to go see
style.
him. I went to see him live. My ex-girlfriend's like uncle bought us tickets or whatever to go see him at
Mm-hmm.
the theater or whatever, and the whatever North Shore Theater for the Performing Arts, and it's not like he's entertaining, but it's not like laughing type of entertaining. It's just kind of like, yeah, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I get it. I get what you're saying, but it's like he's got like all these premises with no punch,
Yeah,
I guess.
that is true. No, yeah. I mean, who's your favorite comic ever?
To tell you the truth, the
Or
people
three
that
of
have
them?
made like live that have made me laugh harder than I've ever laughed in my life.
Okay.
Stanhope.
Doug
Doug
Stanhope. Yeah, he's got a hardcore sense of humor.
And Stanhope hates me. Like Stanhope does not like he crank called me at like 3:00 in the morning one day to yell at me about comedy classes. Remember how he had like that huge beef with comedy classes for like
I
couple
didn't
of years
pay that
or
much
whatever?
attention to him. I just know of him pretty well, but I'm not
But
hardcore.
he once called me in like in the middle of the night, be like, "You're a piece of shit for running these comedy classes." It was pretty funny.
Really? Did you
and,
did you ever feel, I mean, that's kind of a big move, to be honest with you. Did you ever get a fear that if you met him in person that he might like push you or do something physical?
No, I met him in person. That's how he knew me. I met him a few times in person.
I'm just saying, once he was calling you like that, were you kind of afraid of meeting him afterwards?
No, not at all. Because I think he was just drunk. He was just drunk.
He was in the midst of a blackout. This was the other Stanhope. You weren't friends with that guy. You're friends with the comedian one.
He was. It was like right around that same time that Louis Anderson was doing a comedy class with Kyle Cease.
I don't
and like
know.
he had this big like thing about comedy classes and how they're ripping people off and stuff.
And you were running a comedy class?
Yeah, I did a comedy class out of my club, and it wasn't really. I was just talking to Robert Hines about it earlier today, actually. Um, but it wasn't so much of it wasn't like one of these be funny, make money classes. It was like
That is a
it,
good
it
tip. Be funny, make money.
we did
Woo.
writing
Joker with a lot of cash.
segments. We did writing segments and stuff. And we did like half of the class was like writing exercises, but most of it was like, hey, here's some, all the mistakes that I made that I don't want you to make. Like things like always have your notebook with you, no matter where you're at. If you're about to go to sleep, if you're in the shower,
right,
bring your notebook and have it right there, because the best ideas are going to come into your head when it's least convenient to write them down. And that's when you want to write them down. When you're in the shower, when you're about to go to sleep, that's when the best ideas are going to pop into your head, and it's easiest to dismiss them. So you're going to remember them later, and you never will. Write down everything that you think of. That was like class number 1,
Boom.
Like always
Remember. So be able to record. No, that's smart.
And
now,
another thing I drilled into people's heads was it doesn't matter how many people are in the crowd. If there's 4 people or if there's 100 people, give your best to every single audience member. Never get discouraged if a show is like shitty, because what are you going to do when you drive fucking 500 miles to get to some podunk town in the middle of nowhere to do a show and there's 7 people there? You're going to fucking crap out and fucking just go up on stage. And like, I did fucking shows where I literally had 4 people and in a casino, and I just have them sit at the table with me and sit down and talk to them. One of the best shows I ever did in my comedy career, I performed. The biggest show I ever did was I opened for Tracy Morgan at the Horseshoe Casino in like 2008 or so, I want to say. Tracy and Morgan, that was in front of 2,500 people.
Okay.
But that wasn't the best show I ever did. The best show I ever did was Mike Stanley recommended me to Joel Pace as a headliner for the Midwest. And Joel Pace, who I've been trying to get in with for years, who runs the Comedy Zone clubs out of the Southeast. And for me, it was like, I want to go do a tour of the Southeast because I like playing with snakes and critters and alligators and shit. And it would be so much fun for me to just drive around the Southeast playing with animals in between comedy shows.
Weirdo.
So he, Joel Pace out of the blue contacts me. He says, hey, you're recommended as a headliner for the Midwest.
Yeah.
We want you to come do our new show in Wisconsin Dells.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is a great opportunity. Like, how many comics have the opportunity to be a headliner first time out for a new agency, right? So I took it. It was $300, but it was just a one-nighter, and they put you up in the resort or whatever.
Right.
It was a ski resort, and it was in February. And
what was your name? What were you on the marquee? How'd they promote you?
I don't know. There was nobody at
What
the
was
show.
your name at the time?
Dave Odd. This was Dave
Okay,
Odd.
and what's your name now?
It's still Dave Odd. My mom even calls me Dave Odd.
Is it though a different last name? You don't have to say it, I guess, if you don't want to.
I mean, I still have my real last name. I never officially changed it, but everyone in my current arc of my life knows me as Dave Odd.
Right.
So the thing is that so I get to the room. It's a $300 show.
Yeah.
And it was in Wisconsin Dells. It was a 2-hour drive, 2.5-hour drive, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? I got nothing else going on.
Okay.
And it was during February, but there was a thaw. It was like one of our 60-degree 2-week thaws in the middle of fucking February, like we get around here. And it was at a ski resort, so there was nobody at the resort at the time the show was going on. I get to the venue. And it's a nice venue, and it's a hotel upstairs. Downstairs, there's like a ballroom that they have like weddings and shit. And I asked I find the manager or whatever who's running the show, and I'm like, hey, where are the other comedians? And he's like, oh, there are none.
Uh-oh.
And I'm like, wait,
you're the headliner and the middle and the host.
No middle? And he's like, no,
you're the one-man show that just rolled into town. Dave Odd's here. You better start doing some magic.
I'm like, wait a minute. How long is this show supposed to be? And
shit.
he's like 90 minutes.
90, yes.
An hour and a half.
Okay.
And I'm like, so you want me as one person to do a 90-minute show?
Yes.
With no opener and no host? And they're like, yeah, that's what we paid for. And I'm like, okay.
Oh, and so how long had you been doing it to that point?
I mean,
How many years in?
I was a good like 10 years in.
10 years in, and how much material would you say if you just played it out in time? How much do you have at
Well,
that point? 10
there's
years in,
like
you should
there's
have
like
like
there's like club and
two.
show material, and then there's like because all comedians have like story based bits
Yes.
that they can do.
Mm-hmm.
That and like a good like road story or whatever is a good 5, 6, 10 minutes long, and
Absolutely.
you can still make it funny. So I had a
Yes.
bunch of like longer story type bits as well as straight
So
material.
how much
So I
time do you
had
think you
like
had?
a solid 45-minute hour long set of like club stuff, and then I had a bunch of other stuff too. So I get so I go down to the ballroom when the show is ready to start,
All
and
right.
they had a good sound stage, stage and
Okay.
lights and like
A
everything.
lot of chairs, like 200 people could fit in there,
It was like those
500.
big, those like big round banquet tables with like 10 chairs around each of them or
Weird.
whatever,
I
and
don't
there was
like that.
maybe like 50 of those tables in the
Oh, I
room,
don't like it. I
and
don't like it.
there were four people there. There was like a 17-year-old kid
Four.
with his dad, and there was
Ooh.
a younger black couple from Chicago
Yep.
there. They were maybe in their early 20s.
Right.
And so the manager guy, I'm like, can you at least introduce me? And he's like, hello, this is your comedian from Chicago. His name's David Odd. Here's your comedy person. And like
Right.
he walks off stage. So I just get up there and I'm just like, hey guys, all right, like everyone, I'm gonna need you to come up here and sit right here. And I got them all to come sit at the table.
Because
right
you're
in front of
10
the
years in, you
stage.
can work the audience. You should know that. You need to know how to work the audience by your 4th year for sure.
Right. And then I proceeded to do 90 minutes of material
Okay.
for these four people. I had a blast doing it.
You
They
break
had
the
a
fourth
blast.
wall a bunch?
Yeah, we talked and I asked them questions and I'm like, what do you guys want to talk about? And they like
Oh.
mention a subject and I just kind of riff on it.
You
and
had a
stuff.
little bit of something for everything because you're a
Yeah,
comic.
and the thing is like it's just like improv. You can ask people for any kind of, if you've been doing comedy long enough,
Uh-huh.
you can ask for any suggestion and you're going to be able to get in the ballpark of something, like, oh, sports, or like, oh, I got a joke where I relate, sports to relationships or whatever.
Mhm.
Like it's really easy to like kind of go off on a tangent and like
Wow.
tie it to whatever suggestion they give. But
Are you
so
on
I had a
action
really- I
cam
had a
mode,
really
by the
fun-
way? It sounds
that?
like your story sounds like such an adventure, and you're bumping around like we're driving fast in a car.
Yeah.
It got me all to the edge. And then what happened?
It was it was super fun.
Yeah.
And it was like all those years of performing for nobody, like people that 6 people would show up to see one of my comedy shows,
Right.
and I'd be like, we're gonna do the show for them anyway. They paid for tickets.
How
we might
scared
as
were you
well."
before you went up, though? How
I
scared?
wasn't. I mean,
At all?
I have no stage fright.
You didn't take a drink of alcohol. You didn't smoke a big
I don't
blunt.
drink. I
You
don't
didn't.
drink,
You
I don't
didn't smash
smoke,
your
never
body
been
into a
high.
bunch of lockers before the
Never
show.
been high, never been drunk in my
You
life.
just showed that audience so you could smash into a locker, and then, all right, here comes David Odd, and then you smash into a locker, and then come up on stage.
I basically pulled out
You taught them.
every arrow in my quiver.
Yeah.
I did every story, every bit that I
Mhm.
had, and it was a blast. We had a great time. And then so I'm checking out in the morning, and I'm feeling really good about the show.
Oh,
I'm like,
awesome.
That was awesome.
Right.
And then
Was it
girl
90
behind the
minutes
counter,
of dick jokes and jack off material?
no, none of that.
Okay, good.
And so the girl at the counter checking me out, she's like, "You're the comedian last night, right?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yeah." She's like, "I heard you were really funny."
Oh,
And I'm like, "You didn't fucking hear shit. There were 4 people at the show." And she's like, "No, there was just." She described the kid and his dad.
right.
And she's like, "No, they said they just checked out a little bit ago and they said you were really funny and it was a great show."
Awesome.
And I'm like, "That's awesome." And then I think I went to like the Ripley's Believe It or Not Museum, and
Yeah.
I got like some fudge. 'Cause,
Whoa,
when you're
celebrate,
in Wisconsin Dells,
girl.
and I drove home.
I can't
that
believe
day on this like high, like I'm like, and the whole time I'm
I
thinking,
can
like,
headline
this is,
4 people.
this is what I was born to do. This is like,
I got to
this
find
is-
more
I'm a
4 people
comedian now.
rooms.
I'm a comedian. Like, this is what I
Yeah.
do.
Right.
And it felt amazing.
An
to be able,
epiphany.
like,
This is it.
and
You're
it's
a
crazy
headliner
to-
with success.
it's crazy to think of the thousands of shows that I did. That one stands out in my mind as the best show I ever did.
Mm. Wow.
And,
it was
and I
up
would tell
close and
that story to my
personal.
students and stuff, And I'd be like, that's why it's so important to like perform for even the crappiest, tiniest of audiences.
It's like you
Um,
survived and actually looked cool what otherwise could have been a car wreck.
right.
You know, you
It's like
instead of wrecking the car, you did a flip and then you landed perfectly right side up, and
it's like
then you
getting in a motorcycle accident and landing like a ninja on
you
the
did a
roof of the car.
donut around the table. So you
But yeah,
really
man, it was a blast. It was one of the best experiences I ever had in comedy.
that
And
is great, dude.
so that was like one of the things I emphasized to my students. And a lot of what I my comedy class revolved around was not the writing, not the like, because it's not be you know I would say right at the beginning, I'm like, it's not
Hmm.
about being funny.
Right.
You don't even have to be funny to be a successful
Yep.
comedian. Shit, like most of the like club comics that get booked on a regular basis
Hmm.
are they're barely a 6 out of 10. All you have to do is be personable. And I'd really emphasize, like, I had a whole class that was dedicated to just um you know adhering, like, adapting to an audience.
No matter
Like,
what.
you have to like realize, if you're a really liberal comic and you have a lot of liberal jokes, when you're in front of a redneck crowd, you can't do those jokes
Right.
because they're not going to like it. So default
Right.
to like relationship material, default to shitty work job material, or like uh, stories about your dad or family stuff or whatever. Like, there's always stuff that you can relate to, even with people that have a completely different life experience than you. um, and that was one of the things I emphasized uh, for an entire class, of just like adapting to a room. And I would give the comedians, the students, like, exercises. I'm like, okay, we are in Mankato, Minnesota, at a biker bar, and everyone in the crowd, it's a 75-year-old's birthday party. Go, like, and have them cater you know to that audience. Um, and I would give him examples. Like, there was a joke I used to do, and I love doing it, where when my sister first had a baby, her first
Hmm.
baby, and she was always giving me shit. She's like, "Oh, why don't you come see your niece? Come see your niece." And I'm like, "Listen, if I did something to destroy my life with a debilitating injury, I wouldn't invite you over all the time. Like, if I cut my hand off in a lawnmower accident, I wouldn't invite you over all the time to look at the stump. Like, hey, isn't this great? Why don't you buy it some presents?" Um,
You terrible.
and
You
uh,
terrible.
and that was, I was relating
Oh my god,
my
dude.
niece to a stump hand, basically.
Yeah.
But there
What
there
the
was a
hell?
show there
that's,
was a show I
that's
was doing
terrible.
in a bar
You're, you're
in
horrible.
Round Lake Beach or something like that, somewhere up north.
Yeah.
And the lady that owned the bar was missing a hand.
Oh
She
boy.
was literally missing a hand from a boating accident or whatever. So when I was doing that show,
Uh
I
huh.
would not do that joke,
There you
because I don't
go.
want, even though I'm not making fun of her, it's
No.
just like, it's like, if you have a joke about like someone in a wheelchair and somebody in a wheelchair is in the audience, the
Right.
last thing you want to do is do the wheelchair joke, because everyone's going to be like, dude, there's a
Huh?
guy in a wheelchair right there,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
just
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
basically like applying common sense to
Right.
what the audience is, and not just chugging through your
The
material
early
no matter
days of
what.
being PC. Now you wouldn't even have material that would bother anybody, so you don't have to worry about that nowadays. But back then,
Yeah.
you did have material. Well, gotta. If they're here, somebody keep an eye on the door. If one crippled person walks in, let me know. if
Another
somebody
tip
comes
I
in with
gave.
Down syndrome, I need to know that. So you doorman, everybody, you just make sure check
an,
because
Another
I
tip
got
I gave
10 minutes. I'm
people.
working out.
Another tip I gave the
Uh,
comedians, that like, everyone's got, like, all these Chicago comedians are so used to doing their jokes in the city that they're like,
yeah.
oh, I got on the red line at Damon, and there's that one homeless guy, and blah blah blah, and they'll talk about these very specific things
Right.
that don't work anywhere outside of the city.
Yep.
So I'm like, if you have a joke about like a shitty neighborhood, right,
Mm-hmm.
and you want to talk about Cabrini Green as a
Mm-hmm.
reference, or if you want to talk about the Admiral as a strip club,
Mm-hmm.
have like a list of references that like you can Mad Lib style add to your act to describe what you're trying to describe. So when you step into the new town, go up to the bartender and be like, hey, what's your strip club here? Hey, what's your shitty part of town or your
Mm-hmm.
trailer park?
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
Mm-hmm.
well, who's like known as a big asshole in town or whatever. Who's the mayor or whatever.
Yeah.
And you can plug all those names
Yep.
into your
Yep.
normal bits.
Yeah.
And then you do
That's just
this
pro
act that's
stuff.
catered to this specific town.
Yep.
And you'll have people come up to you after the show and be like, "How did you know about Mayor Willman? Willman?
Yep.
Like, that's crazy that you knew about that."
Yep.
Like,
Yeah. I learned that
I
one through osmosis. Yeah.
when I got
after about
into
my
the
second
when I
year.
got into town, like if I got there early, I'd grab a local paper and I'd look through it and stuff. I remember I did
doing
a whole
homework.
bit about
I never
like a
did
local,
any
like
of that.
the front page of the local newspaper was about a cow had twins, and I did like a whole 10-minute ad lib bit about like how that's news here, like your fucking cow had twins, and now
That's
it's like
smart.
this big thing.
All right, getting back to it. What are the 5 things you hate? What do we get to? One of them so far?
Yeah, 5 things I hate about comedy. Okay, so definitely the cliquishness and
Cliquishness,
the
yeah.
repetitiveness of the the scene and stuff. I definitely don't like. Okay, so the other big beef I had is a lot of comedians start their own show to give people stage time. Like, that's the whole point of starting a show.
Sure.
And it's this, and you ask comedians why they started a show, and they're like, "Oh, well, if you want to get into the big clubs, you got to jump through all these hoops.
Mm-hmm.
You got to get recommendations. You got to send in tapes. You got to do auditions. You got to like come and support the room and hang out and be seen." And then once their show starts to get pretty good, it starts to get some heat behind it, and you're like, "Well, how do I get up at your show?" And they're like, "Well, if you want to get up at our show, you're going to have to get recommendations. First and foremost, you're going to have to send us a tape. You're going to have to come support the room." And it's just like, it's the same. You're doing the same thing here.
Yeah.
Like, the whole point of a for us by us is to give stage time to us as a community.
What else?
That was another big beef of mine, and that's why I ran my shows like I did, where comics would give me shit for like, they'd be like, "You can't put up these new people; they're gonna be bad, and then nobody's gonna want to see come see comedy shows anymore." I'm like, well, in that case, nobody would ever see an improv show in Chicago ever again. If like that was the barometer, like if seeing a bad comedian or a bad show.
Yep.
And I'm like, I'd have people come up to me and be like, "You can't have these new comics come up here, and just you put them up on stage and they do like 10 minutes and they're not that good, and then like people see a bad comedian and they don't want to come to a show anymore." I'm like, dude, you were that guy like 18 months ago, and I took a shot on you, and now you're doing all the shows around town, so shut the fuck up. It's this very like conservative kind of mindset of like, somebody else built the ladder and made it go up to the treehouse, and then you climb up the rope ladder to the treehouse, and then you want to pull up the ladder and be like, "Well, I got up here by myself. Why can't you?"
How common was that?
Ladder. So that was always.
Is that pretty common that you'd ran into that kind of thing, or is that a rarity?
Quite a bit.
Really?
A bit. Yeah.
It's a power thing, isn't it? It's like you're taking away their power in a way. They feel like wait a minute, I've earned this. I should be first consideration. You know me best. That's the way everybody else does it. Why are you different?
I would have people come to my open mic and be like, "I have to work in the morning, and I need to get up earlier than number 32."
Holy
and I'm like,
shit.
"Well, everyone else here has to fucking work in the morning too."
How big was your list?
My list at my open mic was like usually around 50 or more.
50?
Yeah.
Wow,
when I did,
dude. From what time to what time do you do 50? How many hours is that?
It was like we'd start at 8, I think, and it would go until, past midnight, 1 o'clock.
Wow. So about 5 hours of comedy a night you're doing. How often was this? Once a week?
Once a week. It was Thursday nights.
Thursday nights.
And I think it was at Wednesday nights, and then I moved it to Thursday nights at some point.
Wow.
But I modeled my open mic after the Lion's Den open mic. So every 5 spots there was like a ringer spot, or I would sometimes save it for somebody that like got there late or had like a special circumstance they had to like get to third shift or something like that. I put in ringers every now and then, but it was a true lottery system.
Okay.
Like whatever comes out of the cup, that's how it is. Yeah. Every 5 spots is a ringer spot for somebody that came in late or whatever.
Right, and the ringer spot. The ringer spot is a way to find that balance. You know what I mean? Because the ringer spot is like, yeah, I'm putting in the thing that I hope to know will be a good punch. It's like a power energy comedy pill right in there,
Right.
just in case shit ain't going all the way.
And what a lot of
Smart.
people that run mics don't understand is the friendlier you make your mic to new comedians,
Mm-hmm.
the better your mic and stronger your mic is going to be. Because what do new comedians do when they go
Invite
to an
new
open mic?
people.
They
People
bring their
from work.
friends from work. They bring their family.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's some argument to say, well, they're only going to support the guy they came to see, which is true in some aspects, but
Yes.
usually they're respectful. Usually they're unless they're like
But
real jockey
also,
douchebags.
I mean, but if they're new to comedy, they're like, we're gonna make this a night of a whole bunch of comedy. We're gonna see a bunch of comedy. So hopefully they're coming
Right.
in mentally prepared, anyways.
And the other thing is 20 or 30 brand new comics in the room that have
Mm-hmm.
never done comedy before
Yeah.
aren't jaded yet and
Right.
act as an audience for all the other comedians.
True.
So they'll still laugh and
Yeah.
they'll still have a good time. And that was one of the magical things about my open mic, and is that it always had this like buzz, this energy, just like
Mm-hmm.
the Lions Den did. Like there was never a time in the show where anyone felt like, oh, this sucks.
So
Like,
how did
and
then?
also I didn't have a host. There was no host of the open mic. It was we'd slap the list on a stool on stage,
Mm-hmm.
and when you were done with your material, you'd bring up the next comedian.
How many years did you do that open mic?
That was there for 4 years for the whole run from 2007 to 2011.
And was the end of that around the time that you had enough of Drew and comedy in general and left it?
No, because I stuck around because 2012, so 2011 is when the club ended around September, I want to
Okay.
say. That's when the theater got bought out
Mm-hmm.
by the mega church that was renting the theater on Sundays there.
Yeah, the mega church.
The Tomasca family, who owned Tony and Tina's wedding,
Mm-hmm.
owned or had a 10-year lease at the Chicago Center for the Performing Arts. And I set up a deal with them in 2007
Mm-hmm.
to do the shows there and run my
Okay.
classes there and treat it as the Edge Comedy Club on Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened was they just had like a verbal agreement, like lease with the owners of the building.
Mm-hmm.
And when the mega church found out that they didn't have a real lease,
Yeah.
they swooped in and like bought out the lease for like $30,000 a month or something like that,
Swoop.
and they kicked everyone out.
Ching. Yeah.
And it was like that was at the point that I was kind of getting fed up with everything anyway.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So it was like a way to like step away without it being my fault.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
it's like, well, at least it's not my failure.
Yep.
So
You were bound to be burnt out sooner
Yeah.
or later. So might
and I
as well
just
go now.
decided to be like done with it. And then Xavier Lamont called me one night.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I'm at this bar I think it was called Sully's or something like that. It's on
Okay.
Weed Street right by Joe's. And he's like, they got this great room upstairs that would be perfect for comedy. And I went over there and set up a deal with them, and then ran basically the Edge open mic out of this bar
Mm-hmm.
on Weed Street for another year or so.
Okay.
And then I handed it over to another comedian, Kyle Scanlon.
Okay.
And then, I was running classes there as well. And then it just kind of like, eventually I just stepped away sometime in like 2012.
And you're completely done with comedy right now? You're not doing
say
one thing?
I'm on an extended hiatus.
When's the
'Cause
last time you did stand up?
Last time I did stand up was 2013.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like you're done then. Okay, well, it's good knowing you, buddy.
But I'm on TikTok. I'm still very active on TikTok.
You
so
still got
I
your
have
funny in you.
I still have a comedy presence.
Yes.
And I just did a TED Talk, so that was kind of like
That's
that was
right.
pretty
I
fun.
didn't see it yet. I apologize. I'm such a wiener. What
That's
was
all
it about? Was it about what you do in life?
Yeah, it was about
Or was it about what you just told me
they-
about comedy and what you hate about it? Five.
well, no, they
The five
came
things
to
I
me,
hate about comedy in the
they came
my
to
TED
me,
Talk.
they came to me earlier this year and they said, "Hey, do you want to do a TED Talk?" And I'm like, "Fuck yeah, I want to do a TED Talk." And
Would they just
so-
found you at a bus stop or something? Say, hey, buddy, you want to do a TED Talk? I'm like, shit, yeah, I do.
No, it was a college prep school here in Chicago that does them once a
How
year.
do they know about
Um,
you?
just from the internet, I guess. I'm
Oh,
like
okay.
regionally famous for my business now. For those that don't know, is I have a company called Odd Produce,
Yep.
where I've basically built a business off of selling foraged foods to fancy restaurants. So like edible wild mushrooms is what I started with, and then I just started expanding the catalog of things that I know. So now I can recognize about 1,500 edible species of plants, mushrooms,
Can you
etc.
can you also recognize the most poisonous plants and things?
Yeah, for the
Like, are
most
there
part.
any out there? Like, if you picked them, could fuck somebody up. Like,
Oh yeah,
fuck them up.
hemlock, like poison hemlock,
You can
grows all
find
over the
hemlock out
roadsides and
there.
stuff. Oh yeah, and that shit will actually burn your skin if
Wait
you
a
get it
minute.
on your skin.
Where? All right, you don't have to tell me where it is, but is it a? It's a liquid. It's a liquid you can capture.
No, no, it's a big ass tall plant. It's like
So, do
fucking
you have to eat it? Like, chew on it like bark?
yeah. It's in the carrot family, so it's
How
kind of it looks a
how
lot like
much
a
do you
carrot.
have to take to kill somebody?
One mouthful, like one like a half an ounce of it will kill you.
And you think you could disguise it as a food that somebody would eat?
It's really easy to. It looks just
Really?
like carrot greens,
Oh,
and it
really?
doesn't taste bad either.
Especially if you put like brown sugar and like baste it
Yeah,
in a nice butter. Put a
there's a
little bit
chef that I
glaze
know that
on there.
there's a chef that I know that I
Mmm.
work with that thought it was wild carrot, and he
Yeah.
actually ate some and he sent himself to the hospital. He
Oh
almost died.
shit. So like you could shave some up and put it in like a giant burrito
Oh yeah,
and
for
pretend
sure.
like, hey, it's a vegetarian burrito. Check it out.
And there's a lot of like poisonous plants or toxic plants and mushrooms.
Yikes.
They would like make you sick and they would like turn your stomach. But hemlock will fucking kill you.
Oh
Like if you
shit.
get
And what
somebody
kind
to
of
eat
death?
hemlock,
What
it
kind of
will kill you.
death?
It's like a organs shutting down, foaming at the mouth death.
Oh. Ugh.
And it's within like a few hours. It's not like
Oh no, it's like a torture.
yeah.
Like, Pepto Bismol ain't enough. Oh, this
But
hurts.
so I started doing that like, and I'd always been kind of a forager and naturalist and stuff
Right,
growing up. I was always into nature and so when I realized I can turn that into a business in 2009,
right,
it was a really good mushroom year, and
right.
I just started seeing a new girl, and we decided we were
Oh
going to go
shit.
walk around the woods and
Nice.
find mushrooms,
What a way
and
to.
we got
Yeah,
so many mushrooms
that's
that I
so
started selling them.
romantic.
I started selling them at the farmers market to the mushroom guy at the farmers market who would resell them.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of his employees was like, "You should just go to like some restaurants and stuff." So I just started hitting up restaurants. And by the time I closed out that 2009 season, within like 8 weeks, I sold like $5,000 or $6,000 worth of wild mushrooms.
Holy mackerel.
And I was like, "Wait a minute, there's a thing here." And then,
Wow.
I kind of just went back to comedy and focused on that for the wintertime. And then in
Sure.
the spring, the chefs started calling me and asking me for like, "Oh, do you have ramps? Do you have nettles? Do you have this? Do you have that?"
Oh.
So then I started
And all
growing
these
some
things
stuff.
you can find around here, and then you found out what they want the most, and then you would
Yeah.
purposefully grow it. So
Yeah,
now,
I'd start growing
here's a
things.
second
A lot of like,
question on that. Can you identify anything around that will get people high as fuck?
there's really not a whole lot of stuff
No
in this
mushrooms? You
area.
can't find them?
There's a mushroom called the laughing Jim. It's a Gymnopilus
Yeah.
species that you can find in the woods around here. In fact, I find them in the city proper. But they have a very slight amount of psilocybin in them, but
Oh.
apparently it's not enough to really do much other than like it's kind of like a micro dose. It just sort of
Oh.
like gives you a buzz.
Yeah, could you
Um,
grow them, or is that's totally illegal? I would imagine.
I mean, you could. They're
Well, I know
not
you
like a
could, but I think
typical.
it's illegal, right? You'd be in jail for having those things,
I don't know. Yeah,
unless you were in
I don't know if
Portland.
those are considered. I don't know if those are really considered
They are.
a
You know,
Schedule One.
they are. Yeah, they're. Yeah, dude, forget about it. You can't.
But anyway,
Police will
so there's
get you.
those. You won't find psilocybin around here. That's like a
Okay.
southern species. There's a
Any
couple of
toads that
different
you can
types.
lick? You ever run across them every once in a while?
Well, you can find toads that'll make you burn your
LSD
mouth.
toad. Oh yeah, they have
And there's
poison.
yeah. There's a couple of plants like raw mulberries, like
What did that do to you?
before they're ripe, when they're green, mulberries when they're
Yeah.
still green, are supposedly hallucinogenic. Um,
No.
Morning glory, which is a really common plant that you'll find growing on fences, the
Yeah.
seeds are supposedly hallucinogenic
Really?
there. Sassafras, which grows all over the place by my property, is one of the original ingredients in root beer. That's where the root beer flavor comes
Mm-hmm.
from. Like the scent of root beer
Yeah.
comes from sassafras. It's one of the main ingredients in MDMA, the saffrol oil. Um,
Really?
but a lot of these things, like they require synthesizing. Like you got to like
Mm.
add a bunch of other stuff and process
Right.
them in a certain way to get those benefits out of them.
Yeah, and you saw Breaking Bad. That didn't end well, so you don't want to do
Yeah.
anything like that, even if it is just plants. Yeah.
I've never done any drugs in my life. I've never been
Really?
high. I've never
Really?
been drunk.
Why? Why? What's wrong with you that you would never get high?
Just never.
How do you avoid that? Are you have really good willpower? Are you
I
afraid
know.
fuckless of that
the
stuff?
thing is, the thing is, I know I don't have good willpower. That I have a very addictive.
You're
personality.
afraid that you'll get all hooked on it, and you know what the
Yeah.
bad stories are, so you're like, I don't even want to start.
You know what's funny is Drew Michael used to do a joke about how he doesn't understand addicts
Mm-hmm.
because like just stop doing the thing that you're doing and you won't be doing it. Like just don't do that
Oh,
thing.
right. Yeah.
And you won't be able to,
That's a
and,
nice intellectual, non-experience having way of thinking about it, though. He's like, yeah,
but it's
no
true. It's
wisdom.
like I always
Just say
like,
no.
I'm probably a heroin addict, but I wouldn't know because I've never done heroin.
There you go. You
It's
cut
just
it
like,
off at its
you
source.
might be the best violin player in the world, but you wouldn't know it unless you picked up a violin.
So what you're doing is that plant thing. You're doing a thing called nipping it in the bud.
Yeah.
You nip it in the bud. I ain't gonna be smoking that bud because I'm just gonna nip it right off and not
But
worry about that.
So
you didn't never drink? You never got drunk?
No, I mean I'll drink a glass.
You never
of wine
got
once in a while,
high?
Never
got high.
I smoked maybe 2 cigarettes in my entire life. Never been high. No.
You fucking never did any kind of acid or mushrooms or.
Nope. One of the things I have been considering is microdosing.
What specifically?
I've been looking into.
Microdosing what?
Microdosing
acid?
Mushrooms. There's a lot of studies now that are incredible studies that are showing that they help kind of rewire your brain and deal with things like anxiety and attention deficit disorder and focus and things like that. And all of those things I have issues with.
Right.
Last year I was a panelist on the premiere of Fantastic Fungi, which was a movie about mushrooms that was focusing a lot on the psilocybin effects and things like that. And one of the guys that was on the panel with me is this gentleman named Matt. I forget what his last name is, but he's a psychiatrist here in Chicago that specializes in studying the effects of microdosing. And
you're in Chicago right now?
What's that?
You're in Chicago?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I thought there was a fucking earthquake. Got some shaky.
I'm literally holding my phone.
I know. I can tell you. Or else you have the worst fucking stand I've ever seen. I'm just kidding. It was just so funny. It's so much action. Dude, I feel all revved up, dude. You're like a cup of coffee.
I gotta switch hands every now and
then.
then.
Yeah, you do. All right. You know what I didn't do? I'm sorry. I didn't start the show. Can I start the show really quick right now? And then let's just.
So we've really been talking this whole time without it being the show?
This isn't even recording yet. Don't even worry about that. No, I'm just kidding. We have been recording. But yeah, I just want to do it. Ready? So what I'm going to do is introduce the show, and then I want you to just do a quick introduction of yourself. All right. The logo's coming up, and then SFWWM, and we're all in the dark. And hey, welcome to Searching for Wisdom Within the Madness. I'm Darren Buttick, and today we got, the guy we've been talking to, Dave Odd.
What is the title of this?
All right, Searching for Wisdom Within the Madness. So, yeah, that's the title. It's more like searching for comedy, searching for why are we here? A big search, right?
I guess.
You do guess. All right. So today is the last day of Hanukkah, true?
I think maybe I don't know. I never know when the fuck Hanukkah starts or ends because
Right.
it's different every year.
So, but you were born into it, but you weren't practiced into it. True.
I was born into it. I had a bar mitzvah, went to Hebrew school, and all that
Oh,
kind of
okay.
stuff. Um, but I think that was more to appease the grandparents
Sure,
than
sure,
anything
sure.
else.
Okay.
And then by the time I had my bar mitzvah, my parents just kind of like pulled us out of all that stuff. My sister never had a bat mitzvah,
Oh no.
um, and she was only a few years younger than me.
Is she pissed
So it
now
was
to
like,
this day?
what's that?
Is she pissed to this day?
No, she's like completely a-religious. My brother's the only one that kind of stuck. He married a Jewish girl that he met through a
Okay.
JCC like event.
Cool.
Um, so they have stayed in it, and they even keep kind of kosher. It's like not they're not super serious about it, but they're like they celebrate all the holidays and they go to temple and stuff like that. Um,
Okay. They've
so,
got balance. They're balancing it in their lives, but they're
yeah,
enough to you could look either way and go, yeah, they're into it, and they're also doing their own thing.
but the thing
Balance.
about Judaism is like something like I think 25% or 50, maybe it's 50%
Mm-hmm.
of people under the age of 30 that identify as Jewish also identify as a-religious or atheist or non-religious.
Okay.
Um, and it and I think that's because Judaism is one of the few religions that doesn't pound it into your fucking head. You know, it's not like constant like beating you over the head with it.
Right. Well, it's kind of a religion. What I know, it's kind of an ethnicity, and it's a religion. It's
Yeah, it's like
both
it's a
kind of
cultural
things.
thing
Yeah,
mostly.
it
Um,
is. You're.
and yeah, there's always the debate of is it a religion or is it a um, an ethnicity?
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's arguments for both, and I
It's
think it is both
if you think.
because as much as I'm a-religious and agnostic or atheist depending on the day, um, I will always identify as Jewish
Mm-hmm.
when people ask. Like
Right.
yeah, I'm Jewish, but I don't practice.
You're kind of in a way part of a tribe. You have a
Yeah,
definitive tribe. Like if I was to say, "What's my tribe?" Like, well, my grandma's from England, my grandpa was from Germany, and I don't know.
because there is a genetic link to Judaism. Like
Right.
people that are of a Jewish heritage. Um, there's Ashkenazi is like a
Right.
type of Jew that is genetically, identifiable in DNA tests and stuff.
Wow.
So
And also you have a thing where you can actually get a free flight to live in Israel if you so chose.
yeah, and my neighbor a couple doors down, his name is Shmuel Weinberg, the
Oh, dude,
Jewiest name you
he
could
is gonna
possibly
get
think of.
ahead of you. You got to go to your.
Um, but
Yep.
he's a rabbi and he's a good friend of mine. He's a very nice guy, and he's always like Lubavitch Jews are essentially kind of like the Jehovah's Witness of Jews, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense, where they're the only ones that actively try to recruit people into the religion, but not in a sense of where they're trying to get outsiders.
Right.
Only people of Jewish heritage, only people that have strayed from the religion, and they
Oh.
try to bring them back in.
Oh, I
So he's
get you.
constantly like inviting me to do like the tefillin ritual
Mm-hmm.
and come to dinners and things like that, which and I do appreciate being part of that and being
Right.
invited and stuff. So there's that aspect of my community because I live in an Orthodox Jewish community, where if I wanted to, I could kind of like dive headlong into it and completely immerse myself in it for a year or two and see
Right.
how it is. But I'm not a religious person, and it's really hard for me to like believe a lot of that stuff.
Right.
But the nice thing I find about Judaism is it is one of the least intrusive of the main,
Right, because they
Judeo-Christian
don't
religions.
proselytize so much. They're
Yeah,
really
and
like,
my
God's with you. He'll find him a way. He's led him this way. He'll come back. God will
right.
guide, Dave back to the fold when he
And
wants
my
to.
my accountant, his name is Abe. He's Orthodox Jewish, and I'm friends with him, and I've sat and talked to him for. In fact, the reason he became my accountant is because he wanted to take my comedy class at one
Oh,
point.
cool.
Um,
Look at
and then I
that.
recruited him as my accountant. But
Yeah.
I've sat and talked with him for hours on end, and I've asked him, straight up. I'm like, so what's the deal with the Jewish community when it comes to homosexuality?
Oh,
Because we know that Christians are always pounding away at that.
I would say they don't like it, right?
And well, Leviticus is where that comes from.
The whole abomination thing.
His response was actually pretty nice. He's like, well, we don't endorse it, but we don't actively speak against it either. Like we're not cool with it, but we're not going to go out of our way to talk shit about it either. And I thought that was like, and even from an Orthodox perspective of like, the kind of the most extreme you can get in a Jewish person.
Right.
Even he was like, it's like, it's just, whatever.
Because there are some religions out there where they say, what do you think of homosexual? We kill them.
Yeah.
Why did you say that? You want to die?
Yeah.
We kill you just for thinking there is such a thing. Yeah, there's some religions out there that are completely the other way. So if you're going to have a religion, at least they're going to say, well, we don't like it, but what happens, happens. We let it live.
And the thing is, you never hear of a Jewish legislator or a person in Congress or an elected official that's like trying to shove Judaism down everyone's throat. You'll never see an American politician that says we need to ban pork because it's not kosher. Like, that's how ridiculous it is.
Yeah,
really,
yeah. No, that would be that boy. Think of people being mad at Jews before. Wait till they put that legislation in. Yeah. No more bacon. There's gonna be whole bacon protests. People wearing bacon clothes. People.
An American flag with bacon stripes.
You're darn right. Oh man, you just fucked up. You guys should not have passed that law. Especially in this atmosphere right now. Holy shit.
Charlottesville, you thought Charlottesville was bad. It's funny to see people that people get so mad. They're like, oh, this Dunkin' Donuts keeps halal. They keep halal and they don't have pork and stuff because of the Muslims in the community. I'm like, yeah, the Orthodox Jewish community I live in also has kosher Dunkin' Donuts. Are you going to fucking be mad about that too? Like,
it's
what's wrong with that? Like, why is it so upsetting to you that a local chain of restaurants is catering to the community that they're
because
in?
Man, it wasn't like that in the old days. When you was walking around, you would know exactly what was what. Nobody'd hurt you. Nobody'd say anything weird or different at you. It was all the same white privilege. And now, god dang it, why has it got to be in Spanish too? What's going on here?
I'm kind of afraid for what's going to happen in the next few weeks here, because the Trump supporters at this point are like, every time it's like very apparent that Biden won, they're like, oh, well, just wait and see just wait. The Electoral College hasn't voted yet. And then the Electoral College votes and they're like, well, just you wait and see. January 6th is when Congress reconvenes. And then when Congress reconvenes, they're going to be like, just do wait until the inauguration day. It's not going to happen. And then inauguration day is going to come. And I think when it sinks in that Trump lost, they're going to they're going to go nuts. And it's not going to be all this talk of civil war and stuff.
What if?
It's not going to be. Yeah.
What if Donald Trump then moves to wherever he's going to move to? Because I hear Mar-a-Lago don't want him living down there. But wherever he moves to, what if he makes a big set that's just like the White House room, and every day he comes out and talks on that in some like OAN channel or something, and he would do all, because he's like a big giant massive pile car wreck that you cannot turn away from. There's so many heads rolling, and there's explosions, and the mountain of cars have smashed all together, and there's people trying to crawl out, and there's a baby crying somewhere in the middle, and like, I can't. And then somebody drives over it with a monster truck and jumps and flips, and then oranges spill everywhere. That's what he's like every single day. There's another car wreck gonna happen. Well, He's gonna set up another White House. It's gonna be like he's gonna become the president kind of all the people who voted for him. He's gonna still command them to do shit, and all of a sudden he's got this 70 million person army.
I think in a sense you're right.
Oh my god, dude.
My biggest fear is that he just tweets like, kill them all. Destroy
Oh
them. Get my
no!
enemies.
You think when
And
he?
that's like entirely possible, you know?
Well, you know why? And the truth is, he's got some serious mental issues.
Oh yeah.
Serious mental issues. And he just lost, I say the word lost, the biggest thing any human being could lose as far as the power.
Right.
The power of the world, the number one. He had the most power, most nukes, most military, most money, most resources. All of it, all of it. He lied the most. He was the most, all those things that you see in the Bible about the Antichrist, he
Yeah.
checks every box.
Oh yeah.
Did you know the Antichrist is not Satan? It's not a demon. Do you know it's actually just a regular human being?
Right. I mean, Trump is the living embodiment of every deadly sin. Like there is not a single one that he doesn't check a box on.
And did you know that 666 is, they say the number of the beast, but the way that they mean beast is they mean all human beings and all things of this earth, that pee and poop and see. And we're part of the beasts. We're part of the animals on the planet. So 666 that's the number of the human beings, not of a demon or anything. And so, I think that what I'm trying to get at is I believe if you look in one of those pictures where Trump's hair flew up, there's a 666 right over here somewhere.
It's quite possible.
We're starting our new Q theory. We're going the other way. What's the next letter after Q? Q, U. We're the U. No, I don't even like that one. But anyways, we'll start our own theories. He's the Antichrist, and he's got 666 on us. That's why he always has to quaff it right over there. If it ever gets, you'll see it. And even he has that. He has it kind of. He's got a guy with trying to get it off him with lasers, but it's not working because it's in his soul. 666. No, it's intense, man. So he lost the number one thing. So his mind must be going bonkers.
Yeah.
Bonkers.
I'm not even worried. I'm not worried about him. I'm worried about his supporters are like it's massive.
Well, he is isn't he the conductor?
Delusional.
That's what I'm saying. He's the master he's conducting the orchestra. And the orchestra will move upon, depending on how he presents himself afterwards. Because right now he set the ball for a nice spike into this is illegitimate and he's not the real president. I'm still the real president. Listen to me. So do the things on the grassroots now. And so, and the reason why all the Republicans are still scared shitless, and like McConnell just saying that Biden was the president-elect was like a gigantic earthquake through the whole political system, is because that guy up there he's got to not lose, because if he does, his dad will hate him. It was the biggest contest in the world, and that means he's a loser, the ultimate loser of the planet, and he can't be a loser. So then he's gonna have to set up his own White House set, and he's gonna have a desk just like he had the White House, whatever it is, and it's gonna be MAGA or something.
I saw something to the effect that he was going to have his own inauguration on Inauguration Day at the Mar-a-Lago.
No, it's on rally.
I can't even tell if it was satire or not. Honestly, it was like in the form of an email, one of the emails he sends.
You know that he's he is very ADD-like, I will say. In other words, his mind is very ADD-like, that it will bounce from one thing to the other. Yes on one day, 5 minutes later, a no, left, right, up, down, lies, lies, lies. Doesn't matter what's true, false. Everything's all mixed into once, like a chaos machine coming out of his mouth.
Yeah.
And right now, the chaos must be firing off at 50 million thoughts a minute. Like I'm not gonna leave. I'll hold a rally on the day of. What if can I pardon everybody? What if I pardon nobody? What if I'll get out, and what if he gets out, and will they get me here? He knows there's deep stuff that they're looking at in New York. There's a kind of like he's being released now from the protective dome, and it's now time for nature's going to come after him.
There's two possibilities at this point, maybe three. The only possibilities I see are he disappears, leaves the country,
Nope.
and we never hear from him
Can't do
again.
it. He doesn't have it in him.
Right.
Go ahead.
Or he surrounds himself with his neo-Nazi base,
Yes.
fortifies Mar-a-Lago or
Yes.
whatever,
Yes.
surrounds himself with his crazy,
Right.
white supremacist base,
Okay.
and basically just
Goes balls deep.
Lives out his life essentially as a cult leader.
Oh, so I totally see what the scenario I just built. He now has tasted. It's like a drug addict. He's tasted the ultimate. He needs those rallies. That keeps him alive, dude. He's like a vampire that needs that energy.
I think that he's going to do what you say. He's going to create his own reality of where he's the president,
and he's going to produce it like a TV show, and he's going to say things that are wild, like he says, but very calculated for those moments that when people just can't help but not look at the car wreck. They go, well, we're CNN, but we're going to break to Trump really quick during the inauguration. Supposedly his pants are on fire. Let's see what Trump's doing. This was Joe Biden's inauguration. We're going to see Trump right now. He's doing his own rally. Oh, yep, his pants are on fire.
Well, what's going to happen is the media is eventually not going to give him the attention anymore because he's no longer relevant.
If people are watching, if a bunch of people fucking watch, if it's unavoidably watched, they're all run by money, dude. It's all about money. That's the only reason his lies exist is because they're making money off of it.
Yeah.
Power. Money is power.
I think what's going to happen is he's going to. You'll notice that he's never apologized for anything, and every single person that's been loyal to him, as soon as they step out of line, as soon as they break away from the facade of complete nonsense, immediately he throws them under the bus. He threw Mitch McConnell under the bus. He threw Steve Bannon under the bus. He threw Gorka under the bus. He threw all these people under the bus.
That is sociopath, narcissistic move A.
Yeah.
He don't care.
Eventually, he's going to do it to his supporters. And his supporters now have turned on Fox News.
That's the thing.
They've turned on Mitch McConnell. They've turned on the GOP. And at what point do they just turn on Trump?
Have you watched The Boys, the TV show, the superhero show?
I have not.
Well, there's this character who plays a Superman type, but everything's emotionally connected, so it's almost like Trump being a Superman character. And this Superman character type guy, but who's evil-minded, just bad, because he's a super narcissist, right? There's a point where he's just going to go fucking off and just off people. And you're just wondering, when's that point? Now, is Trump got his shit enough together to know that he cannot do that? He cannot do the last straw and get angry at every fucking buddy. Unless it's like Hitler in the bunker on that last day. You remember that movie where he's just yelling at the generals? Yeah. Unless it's like that with Trump inside, he'll never do it. I think he's always got to need that oxygen of human beings applauding him and cheering.
I honestly think what's going to happen is he's eventually going to turn on his base. His base is going to turn on him. And if anyone takes him out, it will be one of his own crazy sycophants. He will have his own Mark David Chapman take him out.
Really? You think that'll be his end? You know what I think his end's going to be? I think it's going to be just as weird as he is. Like it's really going to be some quick heart attack on TV or something. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be something weird because everything Trump does is not normal.
Yeah.
So no matter somehow how he's going to go, it's going to be like the greatest television you'll ever see. You got to see, well, I know you don't like Trump, but watch him do this, and then he has a heart attack and flips over the podium, and he knocks over that lady, and there's breasts around him, and you wouldn't believe it. Whatever it's going to be something probably wild and televised.
It probably will be. But I feel like, I don't know, it's so unpredictable. I've been saying for years now that eventually he's just going to command his minions to go kill people. And
Ugh.
all of these people that are like revolution and civil war and we're going to get our guns, they're not talking about going and fighting
Right.
Antifa and BLM in the streets. They're talking about Dylan Roof, Timothy McVeigh style, straight up attacks on innocent civilians. They're talking about terrorism. They're talking about going into synagogues and mosques and Walmarts and just murdering people, as many people as they can, and be like, haha, trigger the libs. Like that's all they want to do is kill people. Like I've been sparring with right wingers for years, and every single one of them, their ultimate fantasy is like, oh, I can't wait for someone to break into my house so I can kill them. I want to kill a black person. I want to kill one of those people. You know, like that's why when George Zimmerman got away with killing Trayvon Martin, they herald him as a hero. That's
Dude.
why they love that Kyle Rittenhouse guy in Kenosha, because they see murdering other human beings that they don't like as like the ultimate goal in life. Their ultimate goal in life is to murder another human being and get away with it. And I'm not even being hyperbolic. Like that is truly what they believe. And this is coming from somebody that's literally argued with thousands of these people over the years.
Wow. It's heavy, dude. I do not want to follow that anymore. I think that was a good end to what that is. Or it was an end. What I wanted to talk to you about is being the last day of Hanukkah. So they have the 8 candles, right? So what happened,
Yes.
right? It was like, I wrote this down in 1686 BC, right? This fucking Roman dude takes over the temple, the Holy Temple in Jerusalem. And for 3 years, he holds on to it. The Romans just trash it, and they put in Zeus to worship Zeus. That's how old school this is, right? Zeus is supposed to be there. Well, it was like then for 3 years it was this kind of guerrilla war going on against these guys who had the temple, right? And 3 years later they were able to overtake the city. And then when they overtook the city, they wanted to celebrate it by the first thing was lighting the menorah, which is the eternal candle, which is one of those lights, you know, like the Kennedy one where it's just lit all the time. But they had to keep it fueled with oil. So there's always somebody attending to the fuel to make sure that the fire never goes out, right? So they wanted to light that bitch. And then the place was so fucking trashed after they took it back. Like people smashed all the shit and everything. They found one little vial of oil. And it was like, it said 1 day on it, like little, 1 day. This is 1 day's worth of oil right here. We only found this one. They smashed everything, all of it. And so they were like, well, fuck it. We got to light it. And so they lit that menorah. And then for some reason, it was supposed to go out after day 1. And then day 2, it's still rolling. Now, I don't know if somebody snuck in at night and had a second vial and was like, I'm going to pour this in every night while everybody's asleep and keep this fire going. You know, I low played it. Sort of like Scotty. I don't have enough vials, Captain. I've only got one warp. And I need warp 9. I don't have it. And then every night come in with new oil. I don't know if that happened, but it doesn't say it did. So anyways, supposedly that 1 day's oil burned for 8 fucking days. And by the 8th day, somebody had come by camel, like really fast camel, but it took so long time to get some other oil from somewhere else so they could keep, light the menorah. And the guy that came back with the oil supposedly was thinking, man, it's going to be burnt out. And we're going to have to light it again. But I got the oil. And they came back, and on that, it was still lit. So that's why the 8 candles, bro. Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, it's like every Jewish holiday has like the lamest explanation behind it. Like it's like, really? You built a whole holiday around that? That's kind of stupid.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing. Here's the cool thing. If it was really fucking true, if I had 1 day's worth of fuel to light this, fire, and it stayed lit for 8 fucking days, I think at least by day 3 and 4, I'd be like, it's going to go out. Nope, it's going out. And then day 5 and 6, like, what the fuck, dude? I remember it's one vial. It's one just, yep, that's all that's in there. It's still going. And then day 7, like, no fucking way. There must have been people betting by that time. Like, oh, shit, I lost 100 shekels. Fuck, I thought it was going to be day 7. And then day 8. And then finally the oil guy comes like, dude, bring it before this thing goes out. It was probably flickering just a little bit. And then he poured the oil in there and kept it lit. So in a way, it's kind of a cool story because that was the one hope that they had. If that truly, truly happened and really, really was 1 day's worth of oil, 8 days is pretty fucking impressive, dude. I mean, I know their measurements are off back then. It might be a little over full. Maybe the oil was a little more viscous and tar-like than normal. Who knows? But...
I don't think they had any quality control down at the
because everybody was looking at it. By the 8th day, everybody's gathered around this bitch like it was the burning bush and like, dude, it is not going out. Somebody write this down on a tablet.
I feel like
not believe
like all
this shit.
Like if there's any truth to any of these like religious stories, like the Virgin Mary, it's like, how do we know the Virgin Mary didn't just get knocked up by some other dude? And then just be like, no, I never had sex with anybody. No, that never happened.
I can way more believe that 1 day's worth was misjudged of oil and burning for 8 days because there was probably some little bit of oil in there already, maybe. You know what I'm saying? I could totally see that miracle happening. Now, the Virgin Mary, isn't that sweet that they wanted her never to have sex with anybody so that she wouldn't have had an orgasm before Jesus came into the world. We don't want mom to have an orgasm or, like have a good sexual relationship with the man that she's supposed to be with for the rest of their life while they're young. They just want to do it because there's not much going on, no TV, no radio, nothing. I mean, isn't that cute? And like somebody would test get in there and say, I'm sorry, Mary, we're gonna test you to make sure you're a virgin before this Jesus comes on. We'll make sure.
Yeah, I don't know how that worked.
Yeah. So of course it's that is pure human myth stuff. That's stuff that like, oh yeah, that'd be awesome to believe that. Total virgin, dude. She was hot too, man. Jesus, and she was still fresh after Jesus came out too, man. Joseph was like happy. I'm like, come on. But that I can believe. And also the dreidel. Supposedly that was developed a long time ago. Now this is not also written, and it plays into almost a stereotype. But they say it was made like that because being a Jew was outlawed during certain times in Rome and after. To practice your religion was out fucking lawed. And they developed this dreidel that would spin, and each side has something. I don't know what. It's some kind of a religious thing or symbol or on each side, right?
Yeah, Gimel, Daled, Hey. I don't know.
And it's theorized that it was made so that when the soldiers came in and saw these guys studying the Torah and everything, they would spin the dreidel, and then it would go, oh, we're just gambling. We're gambling here. And like, oh, good. We don't want you doing anything bad like, reading a different Bible. We're out of here. Oh, just gambling? Oh, yeah, we know you guys. You guys love your money. All right, go gamble away, fellas. And we just want 10%. That would be the guards, man. They'd be, I don't know. But anyways, that's I don't know who made that one up. It's probably white people made that up. But it could be true, right?
I guess.
It's
I don't
to be
take much
deceiving
credence with any religious stories because we know that the Torah was loosely translated from the Dead Sea Scrolls,
Yeah.
which was then loosely translated
Yeah.
into the Bible, and
Right.
then a bunch of kings got a hold of it and like, I don't like this part. We're going to take out that part, and we don't want any of that teenage Jesus stuff in there. And
Absolutely.
it's the telephone game thing.
But the cool thing about Judaism, if you're going to believe in a religion, one that helps its own people, like you can have a free ticket to go to Israel if you wanted to. You've got access to help in your community if you so needed it. So that's an awesome thing that that culture does.
And there's something to be said about there's a very close-knit community in the Jewish community, but they also are kind of isolationists. in a sense that they
Because,
don't really associate with people outside the community.
well,
Um,
let me ask you if this theory rings true for you. The Jewish people throughout time immemorial have been fucked with by all these other groups. And there's many reasons why those things all come together like that. But, it's like my train of thought. No. What am I getting at? I'm getting all worked up. Well, oh no. Here we go. So they've been kind of persecuted. Fucking dude, the Holocaust and all that. That is still within lifetimes of people. It's still within those communities. So there's a certain, in that community, there's a certain amount of PTSD that runs deep.
yeah, it's almost genetic. Like the persecution
Deep.
complex is almost like ingrained in us.
From the
And that's
times.
why for me, like I have such a visceral reaction to white supremacy and like Nazism of the Trump supporters.
Hypersensitive to it because it literally means death for another human being in one way or another.
I grew up in Skokie, you know,
Right.
and like we talked about this before.
Yeah.
Last time I had an interview with you.
That was on
where
Facebook.
we talked about how you know, I grew up in Skokie where the Nazis wanted to march in 1977. And it was like this big thing. And the reason that the Nazis show up in the Blues Brothers is because John Landis was making fun of or Belushi
making them
Aykroyd, who wrote the script, was making fun of that situation that happened in Skokie. The reason they wanted to march in Skokie was because at the time the largest population of Holocaust survivors lived in Skokie. There's a Holocaust museum in Skokie. There was a Holocaust memorial in Skokie, and they vandalized that shit all the time. That Nazi fucking murdered a bunch of people here in '99.
But they truly believe the propaganda that 6 million was bullshit. They believe that. Right. They think in their minds that is a lie. It wasn't true.
I don't know if you've seen the picture going around of the Trump supporter Proud Boy wearing the shirt that says 6MWE or something, and like 6 million wasn't enough.
6 million wasn't. Yeah.
With the Germanic eagle on it.
You know what that is? That is a super troll. That motherfucker's a super troller. He's doing it to get that picture. He knows that shit. Fuck him.
The problem with people like that is that Trump supporters will be like, oh yeah, well, that's not, what about Robert Byrd? You know, they'll always deflect to something else. They'll never be like, oh my God, that's horrifying.
Right.
I saw on TikTok the other day, this girl was posting police cars and stuff across from her house. She's like, there's a black family that lives across the street from me. She lived in Texas or something. There's a black family that lives across the street from me, and they had a Black Lives Matter flag up. And then last night, people set their cars on fire and spray painted Trump 2020 on their garage. And all these people in the comments, rather than being like, oh my God, that's horrible, that's terrible, they're like, oh, well, they burned down cities and stuff, so they deserve it.
Ouch.
Or, oh, well, how do you know it was Trump supporters? They did it to themselves to make Trump supporters look bad. And like,
that makes me sad,
not one Trump
dude.
supporter in any of those comments said, oh my God, this is horrifying. We need to stop doing things like this. Like, none of them said, like, it's...
That makes you sad.
It's fucking nuts. And if you go on YouTube and you Google any Fox News story about like or if you search any Fox News story about like the mosque shootings in New Zealand or the synagogue shooting here in Pittsburgh, or any of like racially charged stuff that happens, they shut down their comments. They have to shut down their comments on all these videos because so many of their viewers openly praise literal Nazi murderers as heroes. And I've seen it. It's fucking disturbing. When that when the New Zealand mosque shooting happened, I would go on Fox News or whatever, on Facebook or any right-wing source, and all the comments, every third comment was like, we remember what they did on 9/11. This is what you get for invading other countries.
Why do you think they thought like that? Why do you think they don't think about a human level?
Because these people have been convinced that anyone that isn't a white, straight Christian male is not human.
Who's convincing them? Is it everybody?
It's right-wing
that they're
media.
around?
That's what right wing media has been doing for 20 plus years now. Is just fear mongering
Would you
about
say
anyone
Rush
that's different.
Limbaugh was basically the real fire starter of the keg of explosion that this all
I
is
mean,
now?
the reason so Benjamin Nathaniel Smith was the guy that shot up this area, Skokie Rogers Park area, in 1999,
Mm-hmm.
and he killed Ricky Birdsong, the Northwestern coach, and he killed one other person, shot 9 others. Um, and the reason he gave for doing this
Yeah.
was because he was part of the World Church of the Creator, which is a neo-Nazi church group or whatever.
Right.
And Nathan Hale or Matthew Hale, I forget what his name was. Matthew Hale, I think, was the leader of his group. And his leader, Matthew Hale, didn't get into law school, which he blamed on affirmative action. And what was Rush Limbaugh's number one gripe at that time, other than Bill Clinton's blowjob, was affirmative action. That's all he ever talked about was affirmative action, how it was unfair to white people, and blah, blah, blah. And he convinced, I am to this day convinced that Rush Limbaugh is the reason that this guy murdered a bunch of my neighbors, is because Rush Limbaugh put it into his head that you have to get back at these people because they took something away from you.
Isn't it sad how vulnerable we humans are to propaganda? Like all of us are susceptible.
Yeah.
And it's
But
ridiculous. Like it gets to it's what makes it very sad, but also makes it very scary, like literally fear-inducing, because to know that somebody could, in their mind, be told so many things through so many years that actually they then can dehumanize another person on this earth and end their life, end the life of that person, and not think of like they might have kids, not think of they have parents and grandparents and they have birthdays and they get married and they have children and they have puppies
just
and they
just
go to
look
the
at any of
store and
the
they work and they help people too, and they'll help you maybe if you got your, on the side of the road you need help with a flat tire, it's
if you
like,
just look at any of the responses to Kyle Rittenhouse killing the 2 people at the protest in Kenosha, you won't see a single Trump supporter say, "Oh, this kid's a murderer. He shouldn't have been there. He shouldn't have been shooting people with a gun."
That you know what makes that case so fucking weird is imagine yourself into the head of that 17-year-old who's been basically fed the propaganda trickle down from mom and dad. And it's all about protecting the property, keeping these, they're almost portrayed like zombies in the thing, like watch out for the zombies that will burn buildings and zombies will turn over police cars and the zombies. You know what I mean? They dehumanized him to that point. So then he goes down there and he's just this kid who's like does not look like a man at all, not tough. And then people are fucking like bullies, like saying, "Fuck you, you bitch! Look at you, you dick! What's that big ass gun? You loser!" So he's fed with that, and then it got to such a crescendo that some people were throwing shit at the dude, and like he was getting bombarded like a real bad.
Well, what was
show.
happening was he was pointing his gun at people. He was pointing his gun at people.
Right,
and people were like, "What the fuck are you pointing that gun at me for?"
Because he's like, "This is my power. So if you're gonna yell at me, what if I point my gun? It works on TV. People shut the hell up. So I'm gonna make you shut up." That's a 17-year-old's head that goes, "This is God with me." And so like, shh, be quiet. Don't say that about my mom.
Well, you'll remember the first several days of that happening. Several days after that happened, all of the Trump supporters were like, "That guy threw a Molotov cocktail at him. Look at this picture of a Molotov cocktail coming out. It was a Molotov. He had no choice. It was a Molotov cocktail." Yep. And then once that was proven to be a plastic bag, they're like, "Well, still, it could have been a Molotov cocktail." And then he tried to grab his gun. And so that was why he needed to die, because he tried to grab his gun. Like
he did.
They just they never say, "Oh shit, I was wrong."
A dude rushed him, tried to be a hero, and hit him with a skateboard. And wasn't able.
That was after he killed the guy.
This is the second guy who died. The guy who used the skateboard. So he rushes on him, hits him with that. God, that is a I don't know if I could do that. I don't with the skateboard. My training would be like, okay, I hit him with the skateboard, but I gotta grab my hands onto that gun and make sure it's not pointed at me. So whatever I do, I hit him in the head with the skateboard, but I'm diving for the middle part of this M16 or whatever he's got, and holding that down with whatever. You can't just hit somebody and then have him go up. You didn't knock me, and then. Oh my God, dude! I couldn't.
Well, it was heat of the moment. They
It-
were literally trying to tackle an active shooter that just killed someone.
Yeah, but also I guess
And the thing-
in your
the-
head
the
you got to
thing is
think
that-
that your skateboard that he isn't gonna shoot me. I'm gonna knock him out, and then
But
I'll be the hero.
What the Trump supporters did first
Damn,
was
that
they said,
sucks.
"Oh, the reason he had to kill those people because that guy was going to murder him with a skateboard." That was their first thing. He was going to be murdered with a skateboard, so he had no choice but to kill these people. And then everyone's like, "Well, no, he killed somebody already."
You know,
and they were
though,
trying to
think
stop
of once
this
again, get into the 17-year-old's head. A 17-year-old head, and you got a gun, and they've been yelling what they've been yelling. Already something shit has happened where you've killed somebody, so you've already crossed the fucking line. And then somebody hits you with an object, with a thing, or even just comes at you in a manner. He goes into pure fight or flight animal. I got a gun, shoot it mode.
Right,
And
which
that's
is
what
why
he
the
did.
fucking kid shouldn't have been there in the first place.
No, he
And
shouldn't have been.
the
This is his
crazy thing to
parents'
me
fault for
is-
fucking saying that he could even go to something like that at 17 with
The
testosterone
craziest
and
thing to me is that
can't even
Trump
no
supporters,
wisdom, nothing.
Every single Trump supporter I've talked to, literally every single one, says he's a hero. And I'm like, what does that say about you that your hero,
Yeah,
17-year-old kid that was so piss pants scared
Yeah.
of a plastic bag and somebody yelling at him that he had to murder somebody and then murder another person that tried to stop him after he murdered somebody? Your hero is a piss pants little boy that should not have been there. Like, that's who your hero is.
we're being.
And you'll remember when James Alex Fields ran over Heather Heyer in Charlottesville.
Oh yeah.
Same people said the same thing. Like, he had no choice. Those people were coming at his car. They were hitting his car. He had no choice but to run those people over. And never at any point will any of these people be like, "Oh, you know what? I was wrong about that Molotov cocktail thing. I guess that didn't happen." Or, "I was wrong about that skateboard thing. I guess that was after the fact that he already killed somebody. I was wrong about this, and I should go back on what I said earlier and apologize." They never, ever, ever concede that they were wrong. They just keep It's just like with the
There's
Trump's
a whole
propaganda. Trump's going
propaganda.
to win the election. Trump's going to win the election. Oh, well, no, he didn't win the election because it's fraud. It's fraud. It's fraud. Oh, well, yeah, no, they say there was no fraud, but there was definitely fraud. Yeah, sure. The Supreme Court, though, the Supreme Court. Oh, the Supreme Court said, well, the Supreme Court is a bunch of libtards. The Electoral College. Oh, the Electoral College, like, well, that's a bunch of libtards too. They just keep moving the goalpost and like there's never any endpoint.
Imagine every day you wake up and you listen to Fox News, and you're then listening to all the fucking OAN, and then you go to Newsmax, and then everybody's email, Facebook is all these memes are anti, like those liberals and all this and all that, and every time and there's nothing but outrage. They did this and they believe that, and cannibals and sex things under pizza parlors, all of it. And it happens for years, and you listen to the radio, and Rush Limbaugh talks about it for 3 hours. Never, probably in 8 years, I bet he has not said one good thing about Obama. Not one legitimately true good thing, like he's a good family man or anything. Nothing.
Even when fucking Bin Laden was killed, they were like, well, he should have gotten a fair trial.
Yep. So think about that culture. There's a whole part of America that from morning till the end of the day sees everything on the totally skewed side. And the people who put that out are making money off those people. There's money being exchanged. And then say, more blood, please, more carnage, please, lie to us more, and we'll pay you more. And so they're buying things. And gold companies are selling their cards to buy more gold and survival and earth and, get boners, boner pills. And all of this kind of stuff is going out, and it's just nothing else is piercing through. You can't watch CNN. There's no way. You can't look at MSNBC unless it's a clip and they said something terrible, and it's sandwiched in between our guy saying horrible stuff about watch what Nancy Pelosi said. We caught her on camera. She went in to get her hair done. Watch what happens, and they blow it away. Or even right now, where they say, "Look at Biden's son. We're gonna have special counsel, and then Biden's gonna have to let him do whatever they want to his son right in front of his face like a cuck," and that's all fucking. It's like, how do you break? There's no way to break into that right now. And when Trump does come off of it and he makes his own little White House, it's an easy move for all those people to go, he's going to say everything I want to say. I love it when he says, right, "You're the fake news." I love it when he says.
Think of how many of these people put all of their chips on the table. They pushed all in on Trump. They pushed away their family. They pushed away friends. There's people that I grew up with that were best friends of mine, that are completely lost for all time to me because of Trump.
Oh man,
because
they too just bad.
Completely went off.
But it is what it is. It's true. I have a feeling
these people are going to have. I keep asking these people, and I've asked them for years now. I'm like, are Nazis on the correct side of history? Is the side with the Nazis ever been correct? And their logic is that, well, the Nazis aren't really Nazis, so you can't call them Nazis because they're not truly Nazis.
Oh, boy.
So, but yeah, this time the Nazis are right. The white supremacists and the people that support Trump and the very fine people, yeah, they're right. They haven't been right before, but this time they're definitely on the right. They're definitely right. Yeah.
Terrible, dude.
It's just like, I'm like, do you think in 10 or 15 years you're going to look back at this time in history and be like, you know what? Those Nazis were right to support Trump. Those neo-Nazis and racists and Proud Boys, they were correct. Like, can you ever see yourself saying that? Can you ever see yourself sitting down with your kids and being like, Donald Trump was great?
But they're living. What I'm also getting at is the people who are that thing. They're living in such an aquarium of all that stuff. Their neighbors are like, you better not put a Biden sign on your lawn and live over where they're living.
And
Holy
that's why
fuck.
When
you go
Biden
to the same
wins,
church, they
can't even fathom that Biden won. They're like, I don't know anyone that supports Biden. How could he possibly win?
Because everybody in my 200-person town thinks all the same, except maybe that one guy, Crazy Joe, and that's all. He was going to vote for Joe just because his name was Joe.
Yeah.
That's what's so scary is about this propaganda, and we're getting on the other side being propagandized too, to making more of maybe what they said than what they meant, or making more out of everything. Like, holy shit!
I have been propagandized to think that 81 million is a larger number than 70.
Well, you one of them, ain't you, boy? You don't know math at all. 74 is way bigger than 81. I'll tell you that. It's like double. It's 1 in a quadrillion. That's how much Biden could have won. He had a chance.
4 is a bigger number than 1, obviously.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, it's a crazy world going on. But I'm going to kind of wrap this up. Is that cool? Because I don't want to keep you too long. We'll talk more about other stuff. But to end it out, the motorcycle. Here's my pitch.
All right.
Okay. So I will use it as to get into work. I'm going back into teaching. I'm going to become a special ed teacher. I'm going back to college. That's my decision. And then I'm going to be and then we're going to try and move out to Colorado within 4 years. The whole Biden presidency, the end of January 2025 I should be living in Colorado by then.
You should move to Colorado. All right, here.
Yeah.
Move to Colorado on April 20th of 2024.
Well, what I could do, I could move out to Colorado, and then I could make a branch of like Odd Produce out there, and then I'll run the Colorado section. I'm sure there's plenty fucking different plants out there.
With the way the restaurants are right now, I think I'm actually going to have to wind up shutting down Odd Produce because
Right.
I took a $25,000 SBA loan,
Okay.
which I have to pay back. But
Okay.
if Odd Produce doesn't exist anymore, I don't have to pay that back because fuck you,
You are
government.
getting decent because of I don't even want to mention it if you don't want to mention
Yes,
it,
I
but
am getting an inheritance because my father just passed away. But my point is this,
yes.
that I don't think the restaurants are going to recover to the point where it's going to be able to sustain my business. And I am going to
I
completely
think that's early
switch.
thinking. I think they're
I'm
going to come back in a bigger way, in a weirder way than you might know, and might actually be worth your while to open a actual kitchen with your own stuff. You know, take it to that next level.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
well,
that's
I'm
like
just
it's a
saying
whole other thing I don't want to get into.
that's my
My point
prediction.
is that the restaurant industry is going to be irreparably damaged
Okay.
for several years. So I think this is a catalyst for me to completely focus on educating people
Good.
about edible wild plants and stuff with my Eat the Neighborhood foraging tours.
Yeah.
And I have my property that I want to do like campouts and chef driven focused events like survival camp type stuff.
Why don't you mold the two things? Do half of
That's what I'm
that,
doing.
but also make it a comedy workshop.
Yeah.
So you're going to be doing plants.
I was thinking of
the
doing some like
comedy.
I was thinking of maybe renting it out as like it would be fun to do like a comedy camp out
Exactly.
where
That
you
night, you
comedians
get a
come out
big
there
tent, like a big army tent, and everybody who came along, you do a comedy
and like
night
you
show.
powwow and do like comedy
Yeah.
exercises. One of my favorite comedy exercises to do with my students is I
Yeah.
would take an old kids joke book,
Okay.
just like Laffy Taffy style jokes,
Mm-hmm.
and I give everyone, okay, here's the joke of the day, give me a page, and I
Okay.
grab a joke and I'd be like, here's the joke, here's the punchline. You have 15 minutes to write as many new punchlines for the joke
Ooh.
and as many new jokes for the punchline.
That's
And
my
the hard
that's my
part was
talent.
always trying to write a joke that fit an already written punchline.
I
I'm like, you
gotcha.
cannot alter the punchline.
Right.
It has to be exactly the same verbiage, and you have to write a joke to fit it.
Yeah.
And
That's
that was
one of
always
my.
the most fun.
I'm good at that kind of stuff. I can take premises and really work it. That's awesome. Well, that's one of my
Yeah,
talents
comedy
on
camp.
that comedy.
Do it.
Yeah, but you could. It just gives it an extra zing. It's like what, just making sure it's not cringy because you're all so up close with each other. You can't be funny all the time when they're picking hemlock and be laughing. Yeah, sure, go ahead, eat it. Yum, yum.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, I'm just doing comedy. Don't eat that.
Well, the good thing is that the
We need
ground
a
out there is
helicopter out
sand.
here.
It's like the soil's very sandy, so it's really easy to like dig into if
Yeah.
you need to like bury stuff.
Well, do it, man. I very much support you in that endeavor. It sounds great and unique. I hope it works out, dude. And with the vaccine coming out,
I'm
I
already
think
doing some bookings. I already got I already have people like booking out the cabin to like
Okay.
stay overnight, and then I have campsites in the back that are about 200 feet away from the building, and then there's an extra bathroom on the back of the cabin for campers to use that has a shower and everything. I have a washer dryer there, full electricity, and all my electricity is run off renewables. Like it's all off of solar and wind. And I got fire pits and a bonfire pit, and like I've made my property like reptile friendly because that was one of the reasons I bought the property there.
Yeah.
So I put out a bunch of cover to attract snakes. I even put in a snake den and a little pond and stuff
Cool.
to attract animals. So there's all kinds of cool wildlife and shit. It's only a couple hours away from Chicago, but it's like being in a completely different world.
That's awesome.
It's a wilderness like you've never
Like
seen
a safari.
before. Yeah,
With camping.
it is. It literally
and
is.
comedy.
There's a bison herd nearby you can go
Yeah.
see. There's even yaks. You can go see yaks. You can pet the yaks.
Wow. Like a petting zoo.
Yaks like to be pet, apparently.
Wow. And you could get bit by a snake?
You can get bit by a snake. I can guarantee
Yay.
you getting bit by a snake. I
Aw.
can arrange that for you.
That's
if you wanted
extra.
to.
Yeah. Got to get those snake boots for everybody if they're going to go.
Yeah.
Them long, tall
Well,
ones.
they're not venomous. There's no venomous snakes within.
Oh,
like,
that's
100
good.
miles.
So it's a love bite.
Yeah, they're just.
Oh, that's
you know,
nice. I like that.
They're big snakes.
Yeah.
The bull snake, one of the snakes on my property is called the bull snake.
Yeah.
It's the largest,
How long?
one of the largest non-venomous snakes in the United States. They get
13
up to,
feet?
like 8.5 feet is
Whoa.
like I think the largest, or no, 9 feet 2 inches is
Whoa.
the record size.
Nice.
But
bro.
out there they get about. I did find one last year that was about 6'5", maybe
Mhm.
6'8".
Did you wrestle it?
But they used to use them in
No, I
old
guess not.
westerns as rattlesnake stand-ins because they have similar
Oh.
pattern and they like puff up and they hiss really loud. They're the loudest snake in the United States. They have a glottis
Rattlesnake
in their tongue
stand-ins.
that gives them
Yep.
it. And
That's awesome.
in that Jesse James movie with Brad Pitt,
Yeah.
there's a scene in the movie where he actually cuts the head off one of those snakes to escape.
Damn.
Which I'm guessing is supposed to be a rattlesnake in the movie.
Oh, I see. But he had to sacrifice his life. Wow, that's commitment right there.
I think Brad Pitt really killed a snake.
Yeah,
in the movie.
that snake was doing some method acting.
Yeah.
He's gonna get murdered. Wow. All right, awesome, man. This is good news. I like it. All right, here's a little exercise. Can you tell me just a nice, pure, good story about something that you and your dad either did as a kid, or a moment, or a place, or a time, or a thing that you guys just had a very positive, wonderful thing?
You know, I will say this about my dad, is that when he realized that I liked animals,
Yeah.
he was very encouraging of that love of mine, and he got me field guides. He got me like reptile field guides,
Oh,
and
yeah?
bug field guides. So whenever he saw that I liked something, he would get me a book about it so I could learn more about it. And I think that is one of the reasons why I became such a nature fan, because he encouraged that. And because when he was a kid, he would play with snakes and reptiles and stuff.
There you go.
And so I think that was a really positive aspect of my dad.
Oh, I like it.
But the thing is that, like, one of my first businesses was called Reptorama,
Okay.
where I kept a bunch of reptiles and I did reptile shows for kids' birthday parties and stuff like that.
Wild.
I actually did one for Matt Giangreco's son, or Mark Giangreco. His son was named Matt.
Okay.
Mark Giangreco's had me come to like his mansion in Evanston and like do a thing for.
Who's
his,
Mark
son.
Giangreco?
He's the NBC News guy, the sports guy. On NBC News. He's like the local like sports anchor for NBC.
And you were Dave Odd still with the reptiles?
No, that was when I was a kid. So that was like well before.
You didn't get Odd yet. Although it is kind of odd. But
I did. That was my first like real business. Was I would do reptile shows for kids' birthday parties and classrooms and things like that with all the pet reptiles I had, and my dad really encouraged that in me. But then he would say things like, "What, are you going to play with bugs until you're 50?" Like,
all right. No negative stuff about your dad. Don't let that creep in. Do you remember any positive moment, like a moment you guys had driving somewhere, or you guys saw Star Wars together, or was there ever a thing where you?
I went to go see movies with him and stuff. I remember I went to go see a movie with him. I was probably like 15 or 16 because I was still in high school. And we went to that Morton Grove theater. Like, I don't know if you remember that. Like, there was that theater on Dempster that was like a cheapo theater. Like, you could see movies for $1.50 or whatever.
Yeah.
And we went to go see a movie. I forget what movie it was. I want to say it was like maybe Under Siege 2 or something like that. And and I remember these two girls sitting in front of me that went to my high school. They were maybe a couple years older than me, and they turned around. My dad was like went to the bathroom, and then they turned around. They're like, "Are you here by yourself?" And I'm like, "No, I'm actually here with my dad." They're like, "You're here with your dad?"
Oh no.
I'm like, "Yeah, I get along with my dad. Is that a problem?" And they just kind of like shut up and turned around. But a lot of the positive memories I have of my father are when we were kids. We would go like sledding, and we would do all these, like, he would build these crazy contraptions in the yard on the like swing set. Like, we have a slide on the swing set, and then he would pile up snow on top of it because he had a snow plow, and then he would ice it down so we can like go like sliding down, like, and then we'd like wind up like getting stuck under one of the cars with like the exhaust pipe like 3 inches from
because you were going so fast.
He invented a game called Bicycle Tag, where we would go drive around on the trails at Emily Oaks Nature Center near our house. And the idea was you hit your front tire into the other person's back tire.
Oh, okay.
And there was one time, I think I knocked him off his bike because I did that, and then he like split his knee open.
Yikes, dude!
Everywhere. There was one time he saw me pulling my sister around the block on the red Radio Flyer wagon. We were maybe, I was probably like 8 or 9, and she was probably 6 or 7.
Okay.
And he was on his motorcycle, and he's like, "Hey, how about I tie the wagon to the motorcycle and I pull you down the street?"
Here comes.
And we're like, "Yeah, that sounds
bad
great.
idea.
Let's do it." And then I remember even thinking in my child brain, he's pulling us down the street, asking if we want to go faster. And we're like, yeah, go faster. And then he starts to slow down, and I remember thinking in my
Oh,
brain, like, motorcycles have brakes, but
we don't.
wagons don't.
Yeah, we
Then
don't.
we passed him up, go to the end of the rope, and like snapped us out onto the street.
Yeah. Oh shit!
So
At 30
there was
miles an hour,
a
no
lot of the
less.
positive memories I have of my father are from when I was a really young kid, and it was because my father was an idiot. Like, it was like having a 15-year-old boy as your dad, basically. And just like all the fun things we did were things that it was just like, because he wasn't thinking ahead, like he was just doing dumb shit and letting us get involved.
You think maybe he had ADHD too?
Oh yeah, he was bipolar. He had a whole bunch of issues.
So those do factor
one of the reasons
in,
we
dude.
basically just had to separate ourselves from him is because he couldn't let go of anything. He couldn't let go. He was a lot like Trump, where he would blame everything on everyone else,
right.
And he would never take responsibility for anything, and he would never apologize for anything.
Okay, but I just want to be on the positive note. I know it's about your dad. Okay, I like it that he sledded.
But
with you
I think the most positive thing he ever did for me was encouraging my
love of nature. Yeah, you wouldn't be who you are right now if it weren't for his influence in that area.
And before my father passed, he died on November 2nd of this year, and he was in hospice for a while. He was.
And it was cancer, right?
He had a brain tumor, and then he had cancers. He had prostate cancer, and it spread through his body, and his heart was only working at 31% and stuff. He took terrible care of himself.
Oh man.
But my brother called me up that day, like around 1 p.m. or whatever. And he's like, "Listen, Dad's not doing too well. He's not talking. He's not eating. You might want to go see him." Yeah. And I kind of dropped what I was doing, and I went to go see him.
Yeah.
And he was not conscious, but when I got there, I kind of grabbed his hand, and he sort of opened his eyes, and I'm like, if you can hear me, squeeze my hand, and he did.
Awesome.
And I was able to say, I forgive you.
Whoa.
I apologize for what I put you through with all my shit.
Sure, because you got ADD.
Thank you for making me the person I am.
Really? You said
encouraging my love and nature and stuff. And I love you.
Wow.
And he died 3 hours later.
Wow, dude. Those are your last words oh wow, that's pretty Thank you, bro, for even saying that right now. What a nice thing.
I feel like it was something he needed to hear. I didn't necessarily believe it because I don't really forgive him for a lot of shit he did.
I get what you're saying, but the fact is that that is the thing that you did. So it is that action that speaks the volumes.
I feel like he was. My father always, like, out of my brother and my sister and me, my father always butted heads with me the most because I was most like him.
Exactly. I have the same thing. My sister has ADHD and my mom, and I'm the most contentious with them. My bro and my dad, not so much like that. And then any friend in my life who also had ADD, I wasn't friends with them very long because they wanted to do things and I wanted to do other things.
Yeah. So I think the thing is that my father and I always had this very tumultuous relationship.
That was the clash.
I think that because I remember something he said to me when he had his first heart attack. That was in probably 97 or 98. And he said we brought him to he was very reluctant to go to the hospital. He was having chest pains, brought him to the hospital, and he had a heart attack on the table, like when they brought him into the emergency room.
What kind of time is that?
So
I guess if you're gonna have a heart attack, that's the time.
Watch
what I can do, Doc.
He was like dead for like a minute or whatever. And they were shocking him with the paddles. And he said when they were shocking him with the paddles, he felt like he was getting hit in the face with a hammer, and he thought it was me doing it.
Oh shit! What a hallucination!
He said,
yikes.
And he volunteered this information to me, and he said, for the way I treated you, you were getting back at me.
That's shit! Well, that's the way you know that he's not a psychopath, because psychopaths wouldn't think like that.
one of the
They
most
wouldn't
fucked up
care.
things that I found out from his passing. My sister came in when we found out he was like basically on his way out. My
Right.
sister flew in from California to see him. This was
Mm-hmm.
at the end of October, I want to say, or early mid October, maybe early October.
Okay.
The last hour and a half she spent with him,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
all he did was go through all the affairs that he had, explaining to her why he had the
Oh.
affairs and why they were, and she kept saying like, Dad, I don't want this to be the last thing we talk about. And he kept going on about like, no, you gotta
Oh.
understand because your mother wasn't like, didn't want to do this.
He
And like,
needed
so I
something
had to
like a
go.
priest to come in there and take a
Right.
confession. Why do it in front of the dog? Oh, man, Dad,
But
no. That's
one of the
not a
most
good
fucked
way
up,
to go for the
this is the
daughter.
most fucked up thing that I found out though. He
Hmm.
started, so there's a woman that he worked at an optician's office, and there was a woman named Nancy that he started having an affair with a month after my brother was born. This would have been in early
All right,
1974.
you
My
cannot
parents didn't
help
get
it.
divorced until 99.
Right.
So in 1974,
Oh,
he starts
man.
seeing this woman.
Dude, I'm going to put
I
this
was
on YouTube. You know
I
I'm
was
recording
born
this,
in
right?
I was born in 96 or 76. So in 1976, when I was born,
Yeah.
he was still carrying on an affair with this woman for
Yikes.
2 years, 2.5 years. And she didn't find out I was being born until the doctor came in and said, when is the baby due? When she found out I was being born, she broke up with my dad because apparently he'd been telling her that he was going to like break up with my
Well, yeah,
mother
that's
and they were going to
classic,
get
dude.
divorced and they were just waiting until the kid got a little
That's
older.
totally tell that. That's number one. That's like written in the book, the Bible of, you know,
And
I'm getting
I
rid of my
believe
wife.
one of the reasons my father resented me for my whole life
Yeah.
is because I ruined
Oh.
his relationship with his
Are
what do you
you
call
sure
it?
on that, or is that just a hunch?
It's a hunch, but it makes sense by the way he treated me my whole life.
But also, you gotta say you guys did clash because you both have ADD, and there's something extra weird about that
Yeah.
too.
One of the fucked up things he used to tell
No,
me is like,
uh,
he's like, what my father told me was, I hope you have a kid like you one day and have to deal with someone just like you. And he said that's who I was.
right. That's
And
classic. I think I've heard that at least 15 times growing up. I think all kids with ADHD hears that at least 10 times.
Another very fucked up thing he said to me was,
Yeah.
I love you because you're my son, but I don't like you.
Wow. What a way to be honest.
Yeah. But isn't that like a fucking backhanded compliment and a half?
It's I mean, in one way, on its most, there's two reasons why I could say that. One, it's totally true. And then number two is that it's not only true, but he wants to fuck you up.
Yeah.
And he wants to mentally fuck you up right then and there so that you remember that for the rest of your life. Because he's fucked up and he knows it, and so he's kind of projecting off on you some shit that he's feeling. So he was using you as his projector board. So the more he hated himself and knew, because he's not a psychopath, he knew he's wrong. He knew he's wrong in all these situations. And so then you were that thing.
I think later on is like going through his house. Like I'm going through his house. Like I'm basically doing this all on my own, going through his house and getting all the things out. And
I'm gonna have
saving
to
the
edit
things that
this
are worth
out, aren't
money.
I? Totally
and I
gonna
have to go
edit
through
this.
like my father was a hoarder, so he had like money
Right.
and like IDs and checks and car titles and things in every. So I literally have to look through every single little scrap of paper.
And this comes full around talking about the motorcycle you have.
Yes.
So literally, my motorcycle, as you know, the frame fucking cracked, and that mechanic said this is a fatal flaw. And I'm not. It would be thousands just to get it welded and take a new engine. It was just ridiculous. And your dad collected 6 motorcycles, all of them being, most of them Hondas, one Suzuki. 5 of the models are Kawasaki-like, horses where you sit back, keep your feet forward, and cruise down the highway. The one is a touring motorcycle, but in more of a sport mode. It's red. It's got a cowl. It's kind of low, but it's comfortable, and it's made for going across the country. And you know that I before this COVID, and hopefully after the vaccines in another year or so, I'll be able to go on the road again and do these kind of things live, probably with the camera. I'll have 2 cameras by then, maybe. And that bike is like the perfect thing. So other than knowing what that is for that, because it's not the one I truly want, but it would be the coolest. So that's one thing I got going for it. Also, another thing about motorcycles is they are a special thing, different. I mean, even cars are really special, but motorcycles have a certain extra special thing because you can die on them easy.
Yeah.
And so there's a certain amount of karma that comes with the motorcycle. And
motorcycles were always scary to me because, one, I'm not that perceptive of a driver. I've been in a lot of accidents. And
you have a different kind of ADD than I do.
Well, the other thing is that
I'm aware of everything.
You can't control what other people do on the road.
Absolutely.
If you drive for long enough, eventually you're going to get in an accident.
That's math. Yes.
And on a motorcycle, that is like at best a broken leg.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I know. Things happen. I fucked up my knee. It was gravel and I pulled the front brake, but still in a turn, which is bad. But I would just to say from my end though, I've been riding since 7th grade. So I'm giving you my resume here. Riding since the 7th grade, many different types of motorcycles. Honda was my first basic motorcycle. Actually, it was Kawasaki. But also I'd be using it. It's I already got motorcycle insurance, so I could change it over. So everything's easy for me on that.
Yeah, I'd rather honestly, because my brother's like, oh well, this other guy that was friends with my dad wants a motorcycle. And I'd rather go to you because I know you're going to use it and give it a good home, Like I'd rather
actually workhorse that thing.
Go to some fucking boomer 75-year-old that's going to ride it once or twice a year.
Yeah. It would actually be used as a work bike. So that's what I'm saying is it's kind of odd that it even came up when it did, because literally the month before I found out my motorcycle was done for, and I was like, fuck. And all of a sudden I'm like, God dang it. And all I have budget for is a used motorcycle. But I can't compete with somebody who has a decent amount of coin. So if your brother's in charge of selling everything and he's going to rock the thing on it, I don't know if I can pull off what this other guy might offer. I'm already...
Well, my brother was floating the number 4,000. That's what he was trying to get for it.
Right.
Which, I mean, I don't know about motorcycles.
No, I know. It was worth it.
Because it comes with those side cart tank things.
I know. All right, well, I'm just going to split my water. I got $3,000 right now, and whatever money I can make off of salvaging my motorcycle that I have is what I'd use for it.
Are you good at giving hand jobs? My brother might be down for some hand jobs.
Me? Do you really eat this? I think he'd charge me more for that. I got a bad wrist. Yeah. Geez, though, but yeah, I know. 4,000. Well, that's
I'll talk to him and see what's up.
Yeah. See what's up. So I'm just gonna pull whatever I can with you, the love that we have for each other, and you'll know that it'll help me in this time of COVID.
I've been selling all the shit that he has in his house. I mean, you saw, like, you came in there the other day and saw.
Yeah, totally.
Since November 30th, when I started like selling the stuff that was in the house, I've pulled almost $6,000 in just eBay sales of just random nonsense. A lot of he was really into like scanners, like radio scanners, listen to the police bands and stuff like that. I found 50 of these fucking things in his house,
Mm-hmm.
and they all sold for like average of $60 a pop.
No,
And then
man,
I had
that's
like two
awesome,
left.
dude. That's
So,
awesome. Hey,
and you know what the craziest thing is?
what?
VHS tapes, like recorded off of television
Yeah.
VHS tapes, they go for 20 or $30 a pop because there's a lot of these things that are
Mm,
no longer
weird.
available. They're not archived anywhere, and
Oh,
people like
okay.
to watch the commercials
Oh,
and be nostalgic and stuff. So if you have like old VHS recordings,
sure.
especially of cartoons, of any MTV stuff, any like 80s stuff,
Yeah.
TV shows,
There's a market.
they fucking go nuts for it. I
Weird.
post them. I sit at my dad's house, for a few hours every night, just taking photographs of stuff and posting it on eBay. And
Yeah.
some of these videos, I'll post them on eBay, $30, and they're sold like literally seconds after I
Mm-hmm.
posted them. There's like people that are just sitting online all night,
Right.
just fucking refreshing. There's one guy that bought like 10 of these things.
Right.
I sold 20 tapes for $400, just recorded off of television VHS tapes
Wow.
from like the. I just sold one last night that was it was a shark documentary from 1979 was a date that he put on there.
Yeah.
He even cut out the TV guide like like
Oh, yeah.
clipping of it and
Sure.
taped it to the box.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was a couple other things. There was an episode of HR Puffin stuff on there as well.
Really, that went for money, huh?
That sold for $25.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's wild. Look at you.
it's
See?
it's pretty crazy.
You're able to do it all over the place. Well,
I was talking to my mom about this, and she's like, maybe you'd be good at doing like estate sale type
mm-hmm.
stuff for people. And I'm like, I don't know.
Hell
maybe.
yeah. Yeah.
Because I feel like my brother was going in there before I really knew where my dad was at.
Mm-hmm.
My brother was just going in there and clearing stuff out and throwing it away, and he's
Yeah.
just like, stop doing that. He tried to throw away my dad's brain scans, just like from his MRIs and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, don't throw those away because
Is that worth
somebody like
$25?
it's fucking cool shit. It's like the films of like slices of his fucking brain,
Wow.
So I put those up on eBay the other day
Yeah.
to sell for like $10 a piece because people want to use them for art projects
did
or
they?
whatever. And I had somebody already contact me
That's-
saying like,
that's
"Oh, can you
wild.
show me all the different
Look at
scans
you.
you have because I'm doing a art project on the human body." And,
There's
I
potentially money everywhere.
it's amazing. Like
So-
old like technology, old like radios and like CBs and like even like just like mini tape recorder things with the little cassette tapes.
Yeah.
He had all that kind of stuff and like Radio Shack things that you'd think like
Oh,
are just
man.
junk.
Right.
All of that stuff sells. It's crazy.
Is it fruitless for me to try and get like $3,000 or less for that motorcycle?
I don't know. I'll
is he
talk my
locked
brother
on? Does he
into
have
it,
to
see
have it?
what's- I don't know. I don't know what he's thinking. I'd rather you have it than
Yeah.
anyone else.
See if you can pull a
So,
brother favor for me. I'm pulling a
Yeah.
friend favor from you, pull a brother favor, and who knows what I'll get for my motorcycle. Because I know I'm going to have to get new tires and all that kind of stuff, so I'm going to have to put a couple thousand into it probably because, time and wear, it just, the tires, you don't want to fuck around with that.
Yeah. Well, I know. I mean, he had 6 fucking motorcycles.
He
And
does.
he didn't use any of them very
Yeah.
much.
And you
So,
guys can sell. I would say give me a bit of a discount, and then up each motorcycle, put like 15% more than you would normally ask
there you
into
go.
each of those, and it'll cover whatever mine. Mine will be charity. It'll be
I'm thinking with a lot
you'll
of the
even
cars
the
that he
karma
has.
out with it. Everything you get karma, you get
Yeah.
it with me. Like the karma meter will go way up. And like, oh, good.
I'm thinking with a lot of the car stuff, it might make sense to just like go to like CarMax or something and have them make an offer on all the cars.
Yeah, that's
and just
quick.
sell them all off at once than dealing with.
Although, right, yeah, that is another thing. Unless you're truly knowledgeable that this is a good, well-made car, if they have problems or things, yeah, you're probably
and that's
better
the
off
thing is,
just
like,
going to CarMax.
At least selling them to a place like CarMax, you know that they're going to inspect them and repair whatever needs to
Right.
be repaired before they sell them.
Although
or
the
they'll just bring it
motorcycles
off.
you should sell regularly, even though it's potentially more dangerous for everybody, but still,
Yeah,
Those you could get
motorcycles
more money.
are an easy sell, you know, and
Yeah.
they're pretty easy to inspect.
Yeah,
So
people will love those other motorcycles.
yeah, so
Anyways,
it's all
that's
good.
my pitch for it. My nice
I
guy
can't wait. I
pitch.
can't wait to get into the shed. I have my old Haro Master in there
Oh
from
man,
1990 or 1989.
Ohio.
Yeah.
It says samurai sword.
No, it's a stunt bike. It's like a
Oh,
BMX.
okay. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay.
My
Yeah.
sister's GT Performer is in there as well.
Wow.
Those are worth like probably $500 each at least.
Okay. Hey, and if
Yeah.
you guys ever get, well, it's winter's here now. I mean, are you looking to unload it as soon as possible, all that stuff, or you got till
I don't.
spring and
I'm
summer?
I'm really not sure. I'm not sure what my brother's thinking. I know we got to get a bunch of that stuff sold to get it into the
Right.
estate to figure out the inheritance and split everything up and all
Okay.
that stuff. But I think like a lot of the smaller stuff, like we can throw it in a storage unit
Yep.
and sell it as a can or whatever and just figure it out. But
Yep.
I don't know.
I can. All right. Well, I'll just also let you know. I could take it off your hands right away. I got a garage. I got a heated
Cool.
garage. I'm access to. Um. Dang man. I just want positive things about your dad, but you went. Should I edit all that out then? All that
No,
what
I
you
mean
said.
you can keep it in.
Is that
But
okay?
yeah, positive. The most positive thing about my dad was encouraging my love of reptiles and letting me keep them and like get acquainted with them and kind of encouraging my interest in animals and stuff.
Okay.
Of course, when I was a kid, he always gave me shit about keeping the animals and you got bugs everywhere and like, what are you gonna play with animals your whole life?
Right.
And then as soon as I started doing stand-up comedy, he's like, you should have stuck with the animals. You could have been a zoologist.
Oh yeah, yeah. Way to go, Dad. I remember my dad was. Well, my dad said I was always being funny or just silly, and he goes, "What do you want? You're gonna grow up to be a clown?"
Yeah,
And,
my mother would always be like, "Well, you think people are going to pay you to be an idiot?" And then like
Right.
Tom Green became a millionaire. I'm like, "Yeah, apparently that's
Yeah,
what happens."
they
Look
sure
at Johnny
did.
Knoxville; he's a fucking millionaire from literally being an idiot.
Yeah, no, he's good. Well, he can take a paintball to the balls pretty good. I don't think I could do that. Gonna have to be run down by a bull. Hey man, thank you for talking to me. This is
Hey, thank you, man.
yeah.
It's always a
I'm gonna
pleasure.
put this up. Now let me know. Do you want me to edit this last part out? Because what I don't like to
No.
go back and edit because I get hyper focused in on things, and then all of a sudden I'm doing too much, and that I never finish.
Put it all up raw. And if anyone wants to, they can go to my website. It's eattheneighborhood.com or oddproduce.com if they
Okay.
want to find out what I'm doing. And then if you just Google Eat the Neighborhood Dave Odd TED Talk, you'll see my TED Talk will pop up, and you can check that out as well.
Okay, I'm gonna just put this up the way it is. I'm gonna start it tonight. I'm gonna have it download fresh from here. I'm just gonna add a couple of things to it, and then boom. Okay.
It's good to talk to you. I'll talk to you soon.
It was good to talk to you, man. And like I said, if you need help with your house, and it comes with no strings attached, by the way. No, I ain't looking for nothing. Just if you need help with some big stuff where another human being is adequate. I'm not looking to take nothing, steal nothing, look at nothing. Just helping out. That's all I'm saying. Just because there ain't
Cool, man.
much
I
to do
appreciate it.
these days, and it's an interesting project, so I don't mind.
I
A
will let
little
you know.
workout.
All right, man. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks, Dave.
Thanks, man.
You're the best, man. All right, have a good one. Okay. And that is Dave Odd. And that was the show. So, all right, it's all over. That was it. Oh, man. I just, see, I went in, I just wanted the nice things. We just wanted to talk big positive. My whole goal was to talk about Judaism and how awesome, the awesome aspects of it. And then I was going to talk about his dad and the awesome aspects of that. And then I was going to see if I could get him in an awesome mood so that I could try and buy the bike for $1,000 less than he wants to sell it to me. It's a nice bike. It's a 1984 Honda VRX 800. It's red. 2004 though, and they're really quality bikes. I'm not a big Honda fan necessarily. I'm a Kawasaki guy. I'm looking to get a Kawasaki H2 SX SE ultimately, but they're $25,000, and so I need to get a job first. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the conversation. I didn't mean for it to go there. I really do have a hard time. I want to get this out, so I'm not going to edit that. If you like it, press like. If you didn't like it, don't do that. Watch another one and see if you like that one. But subscribe, I guess, is what the thing is. And what a wild ride with him. He's talking about his dad was making me all, I don't know. You know, even through Zoom, man, you can still hyper focus in on what's going on. It's so emotional. I don't like it. So empathetic, and I'm sensitive. Anyways, my name's Darren Bodecker, and let's do this again. I'll see you in the next one. Subscribe to it; it'll pop up, and then you can just check it out, look at it a little bit. All right. I hope you found some wisdom, and hope everything's cool. You're working out and getting some sleep. Bye. I'll see you soon. I thought that was the end, but I guess it's not. But really, I want you to have a good Christmas.